motiviramo i sve one ostale koji nas prate putem jedne od nekih od aplikacija, a kada smo krenuli imali smo preko 270 prijavljenih i registriranih sudionika, tako da je interes prilično dobar. Odmah na početku kažem, zaželio bih dobrodošlicu svima vama. Tu su, evo kažem, s nama naši dragi gosti i domaćini, zapravo evo počev od predsjednika Vlade Županije Zapadnohercegovačke, gospodina Zdenka Ćosića, kojeg pozdravljam, naravno i s obzirom da se ovaj forum organizira kao dio projekta kojeg financira Europska unija, tu je s nama i gospodin Johann Sattler, šef izaslanstva Europske unije u Bosni i Hercegovini, a s obzirom da je u forumu zapravo planirano predstavljanje dobrih praksi i pozitivnih inicijativa u segmentu outdoor turizma, tu su i naši dragi gosti koji su ili kroz čije organizacije se provode ovi projekti, pa evo i pozdravljam i gospođu Steljanu Nederu, rezidentnu predstavnicu UNDP-a u Bosni i Hercegovini, kao i ostale paneliste iz Centra za regionalnu suradnju Magdalena Puka i gospodin 𝗔𝗱𝗿𝗶𝗃𝗁 iz projekta 𝗕𝗂𝗶𝗿𝗀𝗍𝗀, naše drage partnere iz Crne Gore, 𝗕𝗂𝗁𝗏 sa svojim suradnicima, gospodin 𝗕𝗶𝗰𝗶𝗀𝗁 iz grada Širokog Brijega, Dušan Radojčić ispred projekta 𝗏𝗏 i općine Pužine, naravno i naše drage goste koji dolaze izvan ove naše regije, a pridružili su nam se u ovom dijelu gospodin 𝗕𝗏𝗏 predstavnik koji nam dolazi iz najveće evropske outdoor platforme, gospodin 𝗕𝗏𝗏, Ed Lancaster iz Europske biciklističke federacije iz Belgije, gospodin 𝗕𝗏𝗿𝗶𝗀 iz agencije koja se specifično bavi outdoor turizmom, Black Mountain Montenegro, 𝗙𝗏 Bencu, naša draga prijateljica iz Hrvatske, iz agencije Feral Tours, i gospodin 𝗕𝗏𝗶𝗃𝗍𝗁, naš dragi prijatelj, kolega i suradnik, stručnjak, s kojim smo zapravo evo nekako u suradnji i došli i do određenih inicijativa i do određenih rezultata kroz sve ove projekte koje radimo. Da ne bih previše zadržavao, ja ću krenuti sa ovim sa programom. Program je podijeljen u 3 dijela. Na samom prvom dijelu ćemo imati uvodne pozdrave od naših dragih, evo možemo reći, domaćina i pokrovitelja. U drugom dijelu imat ćemo predstavljanje izabranih, slobodno mogu reći izabranih inicijativa kroz koje se razvila specifična turistička ponuda u outdoor turizmu. Izabrali smo ih upravo iz razloga što su već prepoznatljivi i već izazivaju određenu pažnju i nude se na tržištu. I naravno u trećem dijelu jedna zanimljiva panel diskusija sa našim dragim gostima, evo, koje sam malo prije spomenuo. Ali evo da odmah krenemo, ja bih pozvao, ja ću ovom prilikom imati ulogu moderatora ovog foruma. Ovom prilikom evo pozvao bih gospodina Zdenka Ćosića da nam se kratko obrati, predsjednik Vlade Županije Zapadnohercegovačke, koja evo nekako je i zadužena kroz Ured za europske integracije i vodi ovaj projekat Cycling Rural, kroz koji je ovaj forum i organiziran i koji će biti organiziran, evo nadam se, svake godine od danas pa nadalje. Evo, gospodine Ćosiću, ukoliko ste u prilici se javiti.
Dobar dan, nadam se da se čujemo.
Da, čujemo se.
Evo, pozdravljam i zahvaljujem gospodinu moderatoru Ivanu Jurilju. Ovaj put ima ulogu moderatora. Lijepo je se potrudio da se svi međusobno razumijemo, rekao bih na korejskom, jel tako? Dopustite mi u početku da pozdravim svakako sve sudionike foruma. Posebno pozdravljam i izražavam virtualnu dobrodošlicu u našu županiju gospodinu Sattleru, šefu delegacije Europske Unije u Bosni i Hercegovini, također gospođu Nederu kao rezidentnu predstavnicu UNDP-a s kojim već dugo godina mi kao županija uspješno surađujemo, i naravno sve ostale sudionike foruma koji nam dolaze bilo iz Bosne i Hercegovine, iz Europe ili bilo otkud. Dopustite nekoliko uvodnih riječi o našoj županiji, koje vjerojatno podataka koje vi već poznajete, ali tek toliko da spomenem da je županija Zapadnohercegovačka u gospodarskom smislu u samom vrhu razvijenosti Federacije Bosne i Hercegovine. Proizvodnja, prerada, izvoz vrlo visoko su zastupljeni u gospodarstvu naše županije. Također valja spomenuti ovom prigodom da županija obiluje i kulturnom i prirodnom baštinom koja do sada i nije bila na valjan način valorizirana u turističkom smislu, i upravo iz tog razloga želimo županiju Zapadnohercegovačku integrirati u ukupnu ponudu, turističku ponudu Hercegovine, odnosno Bosne i Hercegovine u cjelini. Ono po čemu se mi kao županija možemo izdvojiti jesu još uvijek, da tako kažem, neistraženi ruralni prostori ove županije koji nude odlične mogućnosti za jedan jedinstven doživljaj, jedinstveno iskustvo u prirodi, kao što su planinarenje, biciklizam, pješačenje i drugi, ja reći, pustolovni sadržaj poput zipline ili slobodnog penjanja i tome slično. U tom je smislu županija Zapadnohercegovačka i kreirala određene strateške i zakonodavne okvire za razvoj turizma i razvija podlogu za provedbu različitih projekata kroz koje će se naša županija prepoznati kao dio ukupne turističke ponude Bosne i Hercegovine. Stoga je i ovaj forum u organizaciji naše županije, a u okviru projekta biciklističke rute za unapređenje prirodne i kulturne baštine Hercegovine i Crne Gore, koji financira Europska unija, jedan od načina da predstavimo našu ponudu, ali isto tako i da okupimo stručnjake isto tako i da okupimo stručnjake iz ovog područja i porazgovaramo o izazovima i mogućnostima svekolikog razvoja ove vrste turizma. Kao što je vidljivo iz programa, ovaj forum je otvorenog tipa i usmjeren je ne samo na županiju Zapadnu Hercegovačku, već na cijelu Jadransku regiju. Naime, mi smo prepoznali da Jadranska regija može biti regija takozvanog aktivnog turizma i želimo da naša županija u tom smislu ima i vrlo aktivnu ulogu. Želim iskoristiti ovu prigodu da naglasim kako se u županiji Zapadnohercegovačkoj trenutno provodi 5 projekata koji su financirani od strane Europske unije kroz programe prekogranične suradnje. Tih 5 projekata imaju ukupnu vrijednost negdje oko 2 milijuna eura, od čega su čak 3 projekta vezana za razvoj turizma. Stoga želim ovom prigodom i zahvaliti se izaslanstvu Europske unije u Bosni i Hercegovini, gospodinu Sattleru, kao i šefu izaslanstva, na potpori koju Europska unija pruža kroz financiranje projekata ne samo u županiji Zapadnohercegovačkoj, već i onih iz šire regije koji će biti predstavljeni tijekom rada ovoga foruma. Kao domaćin želim vam poželjeti ovako virtualnu dobrodošlicu i izraziti nadu da ćemo jedan od sljedećih foruma održati i uživo na nekoj od naših hercegovačkih prelijepih destinacija koje sigurno svi niste još stigli upoznati i vidjeti. Zato, evo, uz jednu još jedanput želju za uspješnim radom foruma, želim vam još jedanput i dobrodošlicu u našu županiju Zapadnohercegovačku. Ivane, hvala.
Hvala lijepa gospodinu Ćosiću na uvodnim riječima i na pozivu zapravo svima vama da nam se evo pridružite u našoj županiji prije sljedećeg foruma. Naravno, cilj je da vas i malo zainteresiramo i da kao turisti posjetite i našu županiju i Hercegovinu, ali Jadransku regiju u cjelini. Gospodin Ćosić je već napomenuo da evo, županija Zapadnohercegovačka prilično aktivno sudjeluje u europskim projektima, od čega su evo sada trenutno aktualna 3 projekta fokusirana, usmjerena na razvoj turizma. Evo već prošle godine i godinu prije završeni su određeni projekti koji su također financirani iz Europske unije, tako da je uloga Europske unije, barem u našem kontekstu, u razvoju, u segmentu razvoja turizma izuzetno važna. I iz tog razloga nam je drago da je danas s nama tu i šef izaslanstva Europske unije u Bosni i Hercegovini, gospodin Sattler, pa bih ga zamolio ovom prilikom da kaže par uvodnih riječi. Gospodine Sattler, izvolite.
Dobar dan svima, warm welcome from Sarajevo from my side, Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Juril, ladies and gentlemen, and first of all, nature lovers. Good to be with you at least around this virtual table. Would have loved to be there with you in 𝗕𝗂𝗁𝗏𝗃 today. I think it's not a secret that I'm a big outdoors fan, and I have actually climbed quite a few mountains in Herzegovina. I've done the 𝗕𝗂𝗁𝗏 in Herzegovina, and of course, next on my list is the Western Herzegovina canton, especially this new bike routes, which are there and being prepared as we speak. I have 2 main points I want to make. One, on the situation where we are today in connection with COVID. The pandemic has affected all aspects of our lives, every sector of society. And of course, the tourism sector, unfortunately, has been among the most heavily hit. And the road to full recovery will take extensive efforts, patience, and persistence from authorities and entrepreneurs. What I can tell you is, as was mentioned also in the introduction, that we have invested in the sector and we will continue to invest, and especially now in those difficult times. Amidst the challenges, we shouldn't lose sight of the opportunities. With limited chances to safely meet each other indoors, outdoor activities have become ever more important, not only for the economy, but also for our health. Some of you, or some who never wandered the mountains, suddenly started climbing, while others who have previously been afraid of the wild streams of the 𝗕𝗏𝗏 have tried rafting for the first time in their lives and enjoyed it. This is also the time to reflect what's already there and that we can build on, look into development opportunities that have perhaps not yet been fully explored so far and make the most out of them. Adventure tourism is certainly one of those areas where this beautiful and unique region has a great deal to offer. And I'm looking forward to very much together with you exploring the opportunities together in this sector. The second point I want to make is on the programs we have, on the EU programs. I have quite a big office here and about a portfolio of 100 million euros per year to support Bosnia and Herzegovina on the road to the European Union. You know, Bosnia and Herzegovina applied for membership 5 years ago. 2 years ago, the answer came back in the form of the Commission opinion, which spells out what needs to be done. So there's quite a long way ahead of Bosnia and Herzegovina, but the important thing is that we are moving forward. In that respect, we are using this year, which is a non-election year, to also address some of the more difficult issues which are on the table and which have hindered in the past Bosnia's development. Within the portfolio of 100 million, of course, a part goes into institution building, goes into rule of law, goes into other sectors like the agriculture, goes into energy. We do quite a bit of work in helping connect the country with the neighboring countries. The main project there is the 𝗂𝗍𝗿𝗃, which is part of the trans-European networks. But I'm very happy to see also that we do invest in tourism. We do invest in cross-border projects. Tourism in general, I'm convinced can be a game changer for this country. With tourism, with the beauties of this country, this can really have very positive effects on the economy and on many sectors of the economy. When it comes to cross-border projects, we not only aim to support the tourism sector, but also foster cooperation and networks across borders, a driving force towards economic prosperity and cooperation that can benefit the whole region. In the last 7 years, we have supported projects on tourism, environment and employment in the cross-border sphere, bringing together BIH and neighboring countries, especially Montenegro, with more than 8 million euros. A concrete example of our support is what we are discussing here concretely today, is this rural cycling project worth almost 500,000 euros, so €500,000, which supports development and promotion of cycling and outdoor tourism offers in cross-border regions. During these difficult times, the concerns over the future of tourism sector are many, and not only in BIH, but in the whole world. And coming from Austria, I can only support that, how hard countries who have a big tourism industry like Austria, like Croatia, but also Bosnia and Herzegovina are hit now by the pandemic, which has been going on for more than a year now. It's for this reason that the EU support to cross-border programs will also continue after finishing the current cycle, which went from 2014 to 2020. So also from in this year, we will be keeping investing in this sector. We remain committed to supporting the Western Balkan countries in efforts to preserve and promote their remarkable natural heritage. And if, as we can see, going around and traveling this country, there's a lot to be done there on protecting the environment, especially. I'm confident that the efforts of all of our project partners will lead to increased competitiveness in this area and further strengthen cross-border linkages between related businesses and institutions. I also hope to see that opportunities created with the EU support will be widely used by the citizens. When preparing for today's conference, and this brings me to the end, I came to think of a description of a bicycle that I've heard somewhere, and the description goes as follows. A bicycle is a curious vehicle. A bicycle is a curious vehicle. Its passenger is its engine. If tourism and regional cooperation are to be vehicle to reach economic prosperity and stability, you as experts and entrepreneurs are the engine for this necessary change. So I think the natural conclusion from this is that we should keep pedaling together. And with these words, and big thanks to the organizers, to Mr. Ďuriľ, to the Prime Minister, to all the partners, to UNDP. I want to wish you a very fruitful conference today. And of course, I cannot wait to be physically also going to 𝗕𝗶𝗿𝗃𝗁𝗂𝗁𝗂𝗃 to this area and also trying out these trails as soon as this will be possible. Thank you.
Hvala gospodine Sattler, prilično inspirirajuće da tako kažem. Hvala vam na ovim uvodnim riječima i evo na jednom kvalitetnom uvodu u ovaj forum. Naravno, ovaj forum je, da se ponovim još jednom od samog početka kad sam govorio, cilj ovog foruma nije znači samo fokus na Županiji Zapadnohercegovačkoj, nego upravo na jednoj široj regiji jer što smatramo, što je gospodin Sattler rekao, keep pedaling together, tako je u turizmu zapravo nekako naš cilj da probamo proaktivno sudjelovati u široj priči, znači i Hercegovine, Bosne i Hercegovine, ali posebno Jadranskog zaleđa, a želja, ideja i vizija nam je u biti da Jadransko zaleđe sa našim partnerima i kroz niz projekata koje provodimo bude prepoznatljiva, globalno prepoznatljiva regija outdoor turizma, a Hercegovina također da bude prepoznatljiva regija outdoor turizma unutar Jadranske regije, a u konačnici zapravo da budemo prepoznatljiva destinacija outdoor turizma kao članica Europske unije. I upravo nas to nekako uvodi u ovaj sljedeći panel, gdje smo htjeli, evo izabrali smo i htjeli smo prezentirati one možda najprepoznatljivije i najključnije aktivnosti, ne projekte, nego sadržaje koji su razvijeni kroz različite projekte, iz razloga da pokažemo i kako projekti mogu biti jedan dobar alat za razvoj turizma, a u isto vrijeme da pokažemo zapravo što je to sve razvijeno i što se to već nudi na tržištu outdoor turizma širom ove regije i evo sada u ovom slučaju najviše Bosna i Hercegovina i Crna Gora, ali naravno duž cijelog Jadranskog zaleđa, tako da imamo tu i ove lokalne projekte koji pokrivaju lokalna područja, ali isto tako imamo i bit će nam predstavljena inicijativa, odnosno već više nije inicijativa, nego brand 𝗂𝗏𝗍 𝗷𝗏 koji zaokružuje, znači ne samo Bosnu i Hercegovinu, nego cijeli prostor Dinarida koji obuhvaća evo nekoliko zemalja, a za nas u Bosni i Hercegovini 𝗂𝗏 možda predstavlja, nekako je i proglašena je zapravo najatraktivnijim dijelom unutar Bosne i Hercegovine ovaj dio, pa se evo zahvaljujem također i gospođi Steljani Nederi što i ona osobno izdvojila svoje vrijeme da sudjeluje u ovom forumu. Ja ću samo za početak ovog panela, ovog dijela programa predstaviti kratko projekt Cycling Rural, s obzirom da pričamo o njemu i s obzirom da unutar tog projekta iniciran ovaj forum zajedno s našim partnerima, pa ću samo evo kratko proći kroz to što je to već napravljeno, odnosno što imamo kao sadržaj koji se promovira kroz biciklizam. Naime, kroz ovaj projekat Županija Zapadnohercegovačka nekako je na sustavan način zaokružila priču oko cikloturizma, a prije nego što je projekat počeo cikloturizam, možda je bio samo u malim naznakama. Pa evo dopustit ćete mi samo da malo probam šerat prezentaciju, da nas malo prati. Evo, nadam se da je vidite. Projekat Cycling Rural, nositelj projekta je Ured za europske integracije Županije Zapadnohercegovačke, a naši partneri u projektu su grad Široki Brijeg, grad Ljubuški, općine Posušje i Grude i naši partneri iz Crne Gore, turistička organizacija 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏 i to je upravo to područje koje pokriva naš projekat, a već nekoliko navrata je spomenuti projekat 𝗕𝗏 i ovaj projekat je logičan nastavak razvijene biciklističke rute 𝗕𝗏 koja povezuje Mostar, Čapljinu, Neum, Ravno, Trebinje, Dubrovnik, Konavle, a sada kada imamo sredinu, sada smo sa ovim projektom povezali kroz tematske ture ova dva kraka, znači zapadnu Hercegovinu i u Crnoj Gori 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏 kroz ove druge tematske biciklističke rute. Projekat je financiran kroz program prekogranične suradnje Bosna i Hercegovina, Crna Gora. Imamo ključna 4 rezultata koja smo htjeli napraviti ovdje, a to je ojačano prekogranično partnerstvo i za koje smatramo uistinu vrlo važnim, ne samo u bilateralnom, nego i u trilateralnom, znači kompletno prekogranično partnerstvo da bismo mogli razviti Jadransku regiju kao prepoznatljivu regiju outdoor turizma, odnosno turizma povezanog s prirodom. Mapiranje i opremanje biciklističkih mreže, biciklističkih ruta i u Hercegovini i u Crnoj Gori i uvođenje bike friendly standarda, jednog standarda koji na neki način standardizira ponudu kada govorimo o biciklizmu i razvoju biciklizma i naravno promocija ove prekogranične regije kao atraktivne, prepoznatljive regije i destinacije kada govorimo o turizmu i u toj funkciji jeste i ovaj forum koji smo organizirali. Sada smo ga nazvali forum, ali ovo će prerasti u jedan događaj na godišnjoj razini, kao što sam rekao, koji bi ideja je da traje ne samo dan, nego da traje više dana, a to podrazumijeva znači i istraživanje ovih određenih sadržaja koji se razvijaju kroz različite projekte kada govorimo o outdoor turizmu. Konkretno kroz projekat je već do sada umreženo nekoliko tematskih biciklističkih ruta u zapadnoj Hercegovini pod brendom 𝗏𝗏 Cycling Experience. Imamo 6 tematskih ruta, 𝗕𝗶𝗶𝗀𝗁 Cycling Trail, rute koje oživljavaju stare pastirske putove kuda se gonila stoka iz jednog dijela iz južnih dijelova u sjeverne dijelove i na ovaj način ih želimo oživjeti. 𝗕𝗶𝗶𝗃𝗁𝗏 Cycling Trail znači oživljavanje kulturno-povijesne baštine i povezivanje kroz biciklizam na slivu rijeke 𝗕𝗶𝗃. Golden Triangle Cycling Trail, oživljavanje jednog duhanskog područja i uvezivanje kroz biciklističke rute, znači područja koje je prepoznatljivo po uzgoju duhana koji je već zamro, znači starog autohtone sorte hercegovačkog duhana ravnjaka koji je zaštićen oznakom zemljopisnog podrijetla, aromatske biciklističke rute koje vezuju sve ove sadržaje vezano sa aromatskim i ljekovitim biljem od plantaža do prerade i proizvodnje različitih proizvoda na ovu temu. 𝗏𝗏 Cycling Trail, povezivanje jezera, jer imamo koliko god stereotipi vladaju o Hercegovini da je sušna regija, samo u zapadnoj Hercegovini mi imamo već 4 jezera koja smo evo kroz biciklističke rute uvezali, znači od jezera Krenica, Nuga, Tribistovo do Blidinskog jezera u Parku prirode Blidinje i Peace Cycling Trail, biciklistička ruta koja povezuje memorijalne centre iz drugog svjetskog rata i na taj način oživljava jednu skoro zaboravljenu priču. Cilj ovih biciklističkih ruta je da upravo kroz neistražena područja, ruralne prostore uveže i da integrira kulturno-povijesnu baštinu i prirodnu naravno baštinu kroz ove biciklističke rute, kroz jedan atraktivna područja koja nisu prometno intenzivna, tako da idu najviše kroz sporedne lokalne ceste. Također i u Crnoj Gori je napravljena slična stvar sa oživljavanjem i razvojem također tematskih biciklističkih ruta Slano i Slatko koja povezuje more i planine, s obzirom da je Herceg novi primorski grad. Uglavnom turizam se događao vezan za obalu, a na ovaj način i kroz druge projekte se zaleđe Herceg Novog, odnosno taj planinski, brdski dio integrira u turističku ponudu i također evo i druge tematske rute, biciklističke rute kao što su 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗁𝗏 Trails. Znači ideja ovog projekta je bila da identificira, umreži i uveže i razvije tematske biciklističke rute i od krajnjeg zapada do krajnjeg istoka poveže, integrira ovu regiju u jednu prepoznatljivu turističku cjelinu unutar koje se nalazi već spomenuta 𝗏𝗏 pruga koja povezuje, znači biciklistička ruta Čirenac koja povezuje Mostar, Dubrovnik, Konavle i dalje prema Herceg Novom. I naravno cijeli projekat prati razvoj i infrastrukture, promocija i marketing, ali i razvoj ljudskih resursa, za što smatramo vrlo bitnim i vrlo važnim, da bez ljudi teško možemo razvijati bilo što, tako da nam je i sam projekat uključivao niz stvari rada, izravnog rada sa ljudima kroz trening, edukacije, ali i njihov obilazak i njihove sastanke. Naravno, tu nam se pojavljuje zapravo cijela jedna ta integrirana regija koja u cjelini se može ponuditi, već sada se može ponuditi na tržištu, a to dolazi do izražaja evo posebno sada kada ukoliko se ova ograničenja prilično, barem malo umanje tijekom ljeta, već se može ponuditi na tržištu i individualno i zajedno kroz ove inicijative koje će kasnije biti predstavljene budemo u mogućnosti lokalnom stanovništvu zapravo pružiti dodatne izvore prihoda od danas pa nadalje, a s ciljem kreiranja prilično jedne atraktivne, izazovne turističke, prepoznatljive turističke regije. Ovdje je naziv završetka ovog slajda jeste See you cycling, tako da nadam se da će barem dobar dio ljudi koji sudjeluju na ovom forumu kao gosti, kao slušatelji ili gledatelji biti i motiviran i provociran da sam dođe, ali i one biznisi koji nas prate u biti da će imati sigurno materijala sada da u svoju ponudu uključe neku od ovih turističkih ponuda koja se razvija. Znači u ovom kontekstu je i organiziran ovaj forum. Nadam se da ste vidjeli prezentaciju. Znači u ovom kontekstu je organiziran ovaj forum i slijedi nam daljnje aktivnosti, daljnji rad na ovim aktivnostima. Znači to je projekat Cycling Rural, a pošto nam je ideja da predstavimo i druge aktivnosti, također značajne, prepoznatljive, ja bih evo pozvao i druge sudionike, pa evo krenut ćemo od naše drage gošće iz Centra za regionalnu suradnju RCC, gospođa Madalina Puka, koja će nam predstaviti također jedan regionalni projekat, što je napravljeno i evo iskoristit ću priliku da se zahvalim također na njenom sudjelovanju.
Thank you, Ivan. Do you hear me well? Do you hear me?
Čujemo. Ja čujem, nadam se da i ostali čuju.
Okay. Good afternoon, dear partners and colleagues. I'm very pleased to join this event and thankful to the Office of European Integration and 𝗿𝗂𝗏𝗏 County for these unique opportunities, gathering to so many colleagues, partners, professionals, and I don't see it like a project meetings this, but beyond that. So we are all together from Adriatic in one place here. In fact, this online forums provides unique opportunities in these challenging times for all of us to meet and work virtually for what is our mission, tourism, the most hard-hit in this period. In fact, I'm grateful to share the tourism initiative of Regional Cooperation Council, which started 3 years ago, exercising with the 𝗕𝗶𝗶 funded project, and it's closing in a month. So in April we're going to have our closure conference, and maybe we all will have our invitation letter to participate and see what we exactly and more detail what we have done in these 3 years. In fact, Ivan told me yesterday I need to use more pictures, but now I understand because your presentation was excellent. But believe me, I have 6 economies, 6 countries and to present. And if I have to put pictures, everybody will say, why you are putting more from Bosnia and less from Serbia or vice versa. So maybe I can invite you how you can follow us in the YouTube, what we have done exactly, because we have nice videos, there are pictures and what we really have done. But I'll explain what we have done in 3 years in sharing my presentation. Will be a simple one. Just a second. So this is an overview of the tourism status in Western Balkans' 6 economies. In fact, it's a pre-COVID stage. The tourism growth rates were well above global average prior to the pandemic crisis. So it is contributed tourism to the 15% of the overall GDP compared to the global average, which is kind of 10%. The sector accounts for more than 500,000 of jobs in 2019. Participation of foreign visitors was over 50%, but significantly dropped in 2020. If you see, there is kind of difference between 6 economies. So are some that are avant-garde, like Montenegro, Albania, and the others are always shifting above with too digital, in, let's say, for the GDP growth. It is quite evident that the ones that are more depending on tourism, they are hit hard by the pandemic. That is kind of sign for the others that we have to diversify the economic portfolio. Like it is said even before from the Prime Minister of the West Herzegovina country, there are a lot of other potentials that should be combined, and tourism industry can be like an industry that can develop the others, but not one of depending one. That's how I see now this tourism sector in this very difficult time of the pandemic. Nevertheless, even we have been like shifting above what is said 2019 and even before that, it was the tourism sector is not on the up. Let's say it's characterized by a lot of administrative barriers. The governments were not spending the same as other sectors as far for the tourism infrastructure. The businesses needs more support to create friendly environment for increasing the service qualities, and few efforts are spent for the regional products. Till before this project, more it was thinking about developing tourism sector within the economies and not so much, or at least to the cross-bordering, but not so much working or thinking about creation of regional routes and regional offers, and the more combination between the economies. So in these circumstances, the regional cooperation, it was the key word and is still the key word, and the only mechanism that enables several factors to work together and settle all the missing parts of the Western Balkan 6 to be developed as a multi-destination model. What we have done in the 𝗕𝗶𝗶 project during this period, in fact, started in 2018. It is completely EU-funded, and we have just followed what it is said in the Southeast Europe strategy, where tourism it was considered as a priority economic sector that can significantly contribute to the overall economic development and competitiveness in the region. So RC systems from that type of development, and now even the agenda of RCC is more focused on result-oriented interventions in selected areas, which among others, it is aiming to reduce where it's possible, even remove the obstacles, increase mobility, enhance connectivity, improved competitiveness in Southeast Europe. We as a project function with the Tourism X Group. It's kind of a steering committee supporting all the project activities, what is done in tourism, even the new agenda that we're going to have for tourism, I'll explain at the end. And this is represented by ministries in charge of tourism, national tourism promotion agencies, private sector in all the 6 economies. The main pillars of this project were product development and promotion, policy solutions to overcome what is, we call it like barriers for development, and the pilot projects, the small grant schemes that we have developed. Exactly, this is one of the slides that I can stop a little bit more. We worked in product development in 2 types of, or 2 priorities, we call it those priorities, but there are in fact the 2 market niches that the integrated product have been developed. So it was culture, and it's still culture and adventure, which have been in our focus. In particular for the culture routes that we have developed, it is written there like 3+ economies, because we are not working for cross-border cultural products or routes, but we are working for transnational routes. That's more than 3 economies that connect the same culture and the same way of development towards adventure or culture. So for culture, there are identified 3 types of regional routes with the prospect to be certified as European route of European councils. So it is recognized the Western Balkan crossroads of civilizations, which is kind of regional identity umbrella for the 6 economies. The BMT, which is Balkan Monumental Trail, with its 40 monuments selected as unique, representing art and design of the Second War monuments. Illyricum Trail, which is in fact a new trail with 9 new archaeological sites from the region that will be kind of added in the actual certified European cultural routes of Roman emperors and Danube Vine route. What we have done with these 3 routes, we have consulted with the economies, with the national groups. We have prepared marketing approach for developing further brand and key visual identity for each of them. Now we are going toward consolidation of management structures and business plans for that to be operative. When it comes to adventure, that's the flagship for the project, not for the project, but for the entire region that connects 6 economies and 2+ from the European countries. It is Via Dinarica. It is said even and mentioned earlier from Ivan. In fact, it's a mega trail, used to be developed or is still discussed a kind of hiking and biking corridors, but in fact, we think that but we work to be like Via Dinarica, a mega geographical area with its culture corridor that till now it is quite recognizable in international markets and functional as a hiking route. But we have developed more adventure programs that are developed toward that, like not only hiking, biking, but rafting, winter sports activities, and every type of activities that the communities along the Via Dinarica or Dinarica Alps can offer. As we are now, it's the canton who called us here. I would say that we in Via Dinarica, we have worked a lot with 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗃𝗁𝗲 River, 𝗵𝗵𝗁𝗃 River, and they are connected with the rest, which is Montenegro Tara River, and going further to Coman Lake and Skadar Lake in Albania. So even working toward the south and not only toward the north. Again, we have connected 𝗵𝗵𝗁𝗃 River with other part of the Bosnia-Herzegovina, with Serbia as well, and Montenegro. So there are different type of connection of Dinaric Alps and the potentials, not only the hiking parts, so not only hinterland, but even connected with the rivers and the lakes that are in the area. And the potentials are huge, that not only for the nature and culture, but even for the people. I have recognized that there are a lot of young people that are working and are as local providers, and they are very fond about the development of this area. As far for the Via Dinarica, we have contributed a lot, creating focal point, or we call it country lead offices. So in each of the economy, we have an organization that is supporting and representing the Via Dinarica at the national level. They can represent, and what we would like to work even more, and it was their representation in their economy. So to put the Via Dinarica and Dinarica Alps as part of the program developments of the entire strategy that the countries has for adventure tourism. So if we don't work to put that kind of main, even in the governmental level, so to be not always, if we have donors to fund, we do project, but that should be kind of ownership of the government that are working, and they have to support the adventure as one of the potentials for development for our areas. So in that perspective, why not even Via Dinarica can be aimed to be a registered cultural routes of Council of Europe, because it has all the potential as a geographical connections between 6 economies plus 2 from the European Union. When it comes to the promotion of these regional routes and transnational routes that I explained, we have been in real trade fairs like adventure halls of ITB, bike festival in Utrecht, Montecatini in Italy. Actually, we are in ITB, this virtual platform this year. There are 30 representatives from the Western Balkans that are now continuously trying to meet up in the ITB. And some practical tools were through the familiarization tours. With experts, we developed new programs, and then with agencies, they implemented the familiarization tours in all the areas. At the beginning, we have even skeptic comments that how you can make an adventure trip in 3 economies or 6 economies. It's very difficult, but in fact it is done, and the agencies, they are from all over, from our contractor, they are from Herzegovina, from Mostar, in fact, from Konjic. We have from Mostar as well to the rafting, in fact, and the ski touring were from Bosnia as a partners, because they are more willing to explore on that. And they exceeded successfully to work and to make weekly days in more than 3 economies, and were much appreciated from the other agencies, not from the region, but even from the EU, like Poland, Italy, and Austria. So my first introduction to Via Dinarica, as well as adventure expert, living and working in these 2 years in Sarajevo, because I was staying in Albania. It is done like I'm kind of very fond of that due to the experts and adventure lovers from Bosnia and Herzegovina. So I would like to thank you. Maybe even I can say they're from Mostar, from Konjic. They're the one who introduced me Via Dinarica. And I do believe that this kind of energy for the area and the Dinarica Alps is everywhere. It's transmitted all over the people who loves and enjoy Via Dinarica. So we have kind of group that we can work. And I would really wish that your canton even can see like a piloting for that. So to collect people and network, because maybe we are missing a kind of regional meeting for Via Dinarica lovers and projects and experts. Maybe pandemic didn't allow us to do that in last year, and this year we're just tapering and approaching the end, but you can continue and we can make kind of networking event or big event for Via Dinarica, because it merits that. In terms of the policy, this is the most important part that we are contributing. It's a long term and cannot end by this project. As it has said, we are working for a multi-destination tourism. It goes beyond marketing and promotion. There are plenty other factors to work together, like easy of crossing borders, transport connectivity, branding the region and the typical markets, involvement of tour operators and how they can be even certified their services according to the EU standards, the same for the hospitality sectors and so on. So what we are now, due to the pandemic, we shift from 4 areas that we had. We are working now, and it will be closed in the final event, kind of declaration signed by the government for the easing of green border crossing that will serve to the outdoor adventure. We have good models in the region like Montenegro, Albania, and Kosovo, that they have very good and facilitated procedures from the border police. We'd like that to be even the same for the entire region, for cross-bordering like Bosnia, Serbia, and Montenegro, because sometimes they're started, but they are not really at place. And that can boost a lot the adventure tourism in the region. The second policy that, again, we are closing that, it is safe and health protocols agreement. So the entire, the 6 governments will apply the safe health protocols agreement and the same. It will be kind of respectful to the World Travel Council Organization, WTTC, what it is done right now, even for Bosnia, because it is their government that speed up the process, and they are already in application that type of protocols. But we would like, and we are aiming to have equal protocols for the entire region and unified one. And the third, which is not only a policy, but it's a program that I'll explain in the last slide, is sustainable tourism development. As far for the pilot, I don't like to speak a lot on that, because it is 1.6 million euro, but what is implemented in the field is quite excellent. We have 36 grants, more than half are from adventure. Lots of tangible results, like working with the trails, signage improvement, new product design, certification of some type of routes, certification on standards for cycling. We have presented 6 economies, civil society sector from 6 economies. From Bosnia, as we're speaking for Bosnia, I'd say we have from Mostar applicants, from Sarajevo, from Bratunac, from 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗁, so all over the Bosnia, and they applied for culture and adventure, but I'm entitled to and in charge only for adventure, that I'm more frustrating and discussing about that. What I really appreciated from the grant scheme, it is that it is not for the activities in itself, but and results on the spot. There must long term in terms of the contribution to the regional cooperation. So there is civil society network now at place that never thought to have so much civil society sector and organization that can know each other, and now even they are applying together for other cross-borders initiatives that are in the region. The private sector has been in strong collaboration with the civil society sector because they have the experience, they have the expertise, so they offer that, and the local authorities. So this triangle is kind of sustainable, and it is created, and it's the adventure and outdoor activities that connected them. So we have a lot of local authorities that support this activity even beyond that. They are putting adventure in their local strategic plans. We have private sector that is recognizing themselves not working for the visitors, but as well changing a bit the business plans. They're working as experts, even giving their expertise to the civil society sector. And then we have the people, which they are more engaged from the civil society and rural providers. So it's kind of a good coordination at the grassroots level that comes out from the ground in a very simple way, but gives us a lot of results. And the last for that is many community of donors, international organizations, now are looking for the adventure like new topics in their call for proposals or in their guidelines. They are not putting like only developing tourism, but they are even emphasizing that these grants goes for the adventure tourism. So we have that kind of new approach. And the last, which is related to the sustainability. So it is explained that how the tourism, it was hard hit from the pandemic. It is not promising at all for the time being. What is more ensured is that the summertime, how we can organize, I mean, the countries and the businesses on that. All the discussions are on short term, and lots of trade-off measures is for supporting the sectors in terms of managing the loss, such as financial support and so. Experts are putting lots of efforts to understand how the new normal looks like. So introducing the topic of sustainable tourism and the new trends in tourism becomes essential, at least for the time of COVID. Still, we don't know what makes people travel again, or it will be the travel ban when they're lifted, they can travel. We don't know what type of travel they are seeking for, what are the expectations. But it is important to understand that what should happen is that domestic will be the first one, then regional. So we should wait the visitors from one economy to the other. We are open for the European market as well, they should come. But for the time being, it's more what is happening, it's short haul travel. What it is recognizable, it is the green open spaces, authentic experiences, what we can offer, and we offer as a destination as well. Standardization of and digitalization of services, this is one of the main topics, and it is quietly said and everywhere that if the economies are doing well the digital agendas, they are doing well with the tourism development as well. So it is very interconnected with the innovation. And by segment, I explained, we don't know really who they are, the tourists, but for sure there will be millennials, generation X and Z, type of Greta Thunberg initiative. So they would like to come and see how it is our nature and staying outdoor.
Okay,
and the
Madlena,
last, which is
we have to finish.
How all this new sustainability will be covered by RCC. It is the common regional market. So in the Sofia summit, in Berlin process, it is endorsed by the leaders of the Western Balkan 6. There is precisely stated that sustainable tourism is the core part of that, and it is, let's say, for the time being, the main agenda that we have in the region and the catalyst for deeper regional economic integration, like a stone towards the single market. I don't know if I'm on time or I can more time to speak.
Sorry, Madlena, it was. I wouldn't like to interrupt you, but we have to. Ispričavam se što sam morao prekinuti, ali moramo. Znam da je nezgodno ovako veliki projekat i međunarodni projekat koji prolazi kroz nekoliko zemalja, da ga je teško svesti u 10 minuta. Nadam se da razumijete, zato jesmo dogovorili slika, jer želja nam je u biti uistinu samo da zagolicamo maštu svih onih sudionika za ovo što je se možda razvilo. Ali evo, hvala ti na ovoj prezentaciji. Prilično zapravo je puno posla napravljeno. Da ta koordinacija je nužna i važna, govori evo i činjenica da jedan rezultat vašeg projekta iz jednog od vaših pilot projekata smo mi integrirali u naše projekte kao što je bike friendly standard, tako da stvari pokreću jedna drugu, tako da i ovaj dio, evo i kroz RCC i kroz 𝗑𝗏𝗏 zapravo sve nekako objedinjujemo ove stvari u jednu priču. Hvala vam, Lina, i sada bih evo brzo preskočio na druge govornike i evo zamolio bi uistinu da nekako probamo to u 10 minuta, koliko god nemoguće to bilo napraviti. Sada bih pozvao gospodina 𝗂𝗶𝗶𝗀𝗶𝗀 ispred grada Širokog Brijega, koji nam dolazi koji će predstaviti zapravo jednu novu turističku ponudu, znači Adriatic Canyoning, koja je razvijena kroz projekat također financiran od Europske unije, Adriatic Canyoning. Pa evo, gospodine Ivo, izvolite i budite brzi.
Evo, srdačan pozdrav svima koji sudjeluju u ovoj paneli. Zahvaljujem se, Ivane, evo, vašem uredu za europske integracije što vam je omogućio predstavljanje projekta. Ja ću samo da poizmem. Znači, ovom prilikom ja ću govoriti o turističkoj ponudi na području Zapadne Hercegovine, odnosno ponudi grada Širokog Brijega i općine Grude, koju smo razvili kroz projekt Adriatic Canyoning, financiran kroz Interreg IPA program prekogranične suradnje Hrvatska, BiH, Crna Gora. Glavni cilj projekta bio je osnažiti i proširiti turističku ponudu u Jadranskom zaleđu kroz prekogranični pristup, te omogućiti bolje upravljanje i održivo korištenje prirodne i kulturne baštine. Znači, kroz ovaj projekat zajedno s našim partnerima iz Hrvatske i Crne Gore uložili smo skoro 1.900.000 eura u razvoj atraktivne turističke ponude u Jadranskom zaleđu. Iako radi široki krug obuje prirodnom i kulturnim bogatstvima, turistička ponuda u našem gradu prije provedbe ovog projekta gotovo da nije ni postojala. Tek kroz ovaj projekt uloženi su napori kako u provođenju lokacija kao i njihovo opremanje potrebnom infrastrukturom, tako i promocija samih lokacija. U Širokom Brijegu nalazak je bio na području kanjona rijeke Lišće, to je kanjon Borak, koji obiluje raznim zanimljivostima, a nije bio prepoznat ni korišten u turističke svrhe prije ovog projekta. Implementacijom projekta kanjon Borak osim prirodnih ljepota sada obiluje bogatom fondom adrenalinskih sportova. Na samom ulazu u kanjon Borak uređen je park Sajmište. Veličine 5 nogometnih igrališta, park Sajmište tijekom dana predstavlja omiljeno mjesto za druženje i dječju igru, te poprište brojnih ljetnih festivala i privlače publiku iz cijele regije. Između ostalih, prije pandemije tu su održavani Herzegovina fest, trodnevni festival stvaralaštva, street food, festival vrhunske strane, piva i glazbe. Osim toga, park Sajmište je zbog velikog parkinga pored parka polazište za sve aktivnosti u kanjonu Borak. Radimo na tome da park Sajmište bude prepoznat kao bike friendly, te smo trenutno u postupku ispunjavanja uvjeta potrebnih za izdavanje certifikata. Kroz kanjon Borak uređene su označene šetnice i odmorišta od početka do vrha kanjona koje mogu koristiti i šetači i biciklisti. Budući da rijeka Lišća protječe kroz krško područje, sam kanjon je atraktivan i obiluje izazovima za najveće avanturiste. Kroz ovaj projekt u turističku ponudu smo uvrstili canyoning, to je prolazak kroz kanjon iz ovisnog vodišta i rijeke Lišće, korištenje različitih tehnika, uključujući hodanje, penjanje, skakanje, plivanje i drugo. Kako bi aktivnost bila dostupna i manje iskusnim ljudima, kroz projekt su obučeni vodiči, već iskusni planari Gorske službe za spašavanje, te je nabavljena i sva potrebna oprema za sigurno uživanje u ljepotama kanjona. Prolazak kroz kanjon je srednje do jako zahtjevan, te je potrebno otprilike 3 sata od početka do kraja kanjona. Na samom ulasku u kanjon nalazi se prirodna stijena koja je kroz projekt prepoznata kao pogodna za sportsko penjanje. Na stijeni je postavljeno 14 penjačkih smjerova za početnike i iskusne penjače. Time je u turističku fondu dodan još jedan novi sadržaj, sportsko penjanje, a to je disciplina koju karakterizira slobodno svladavanje penjačkih smjerova bez korištenja tehničke opreme za napredovanje. Znači, oprema se koristi samo za sprječavanje eventualnih padova. Kanjon Borak premostile su 3 zipline linije koje povezuju Cigansko i Bošnjakovo brdo u ukupnoj dužini od 1100 metara. Svatko ko se odvaži na ovaj pothvat bit će počašćen nezaboravnim doživljajem i spektakularnim pogledom na grad Široki Brijeg s jedne strane i kanjon Borak s druge strane. Svi korisnici na raspolaganju imaju kompletnu zaštitnu opremu, vrhunski setki proizvođača prema propisanim europskim standardima, a prije spuštanja prolaze kratku obuku korištenja opreme na pokaznom zipline. Maksimalna brzina koja se postiže prilikom spuštanja je nekih 70 km, ovisno od vjetra i težine korisnika. Naši instruktori se brinu da spuštanje bude sigurno i zabavno iskustvo. Situacija u općini Grude prije provedbe ovog projekta bila slična našoj. Znači, sve projekte i aktivnosti bile su usmjerene na kanjon rijeke 𝗙𝗃𝗁 u 𝗕𝗃𝗁. Te za po završetku projekta općina Grude dobila jedan zaokružen i atraktivan turistički sadržaj. Do samog dijela rijeke 𝗙𝗃𝗁 uređene su šetnice, pješački mostovi i odmorišta. Oni svakog posjetitelju pružaju mogućnost da iskusi neko prošlo vrijeme prolazeći između kamenih mlinica kao i netaknutu prirodu sa kristalno čistom rijekom 𝗙𝗃𝗁. Instalirana je via ferata iz 160 metara visoke stijene s polazištem od izvora rijeke 𝗙𝗃𝗁. To je izazovi za najiskusnije planinare. Via ferata je poseban doživljaj koji će ostati rezerviran samo za najhrabrije. Instalirane su 2 zipline linije preko kanjona rijeke 𝗙𝗃𝗁 u ukupnoj duljini od 1000 metara, koji pruže veličanstven pogled na čitanjske stine i dolinu rijeke 𝗙𝗃𝗁. Ravlića pećina je dio 𝗕𝗃𝗁 i kroz ovaj projekt je prvi put uređena, opremljena, osvjetljena i ograđena. Ravlića pećina je značajno arheološko nalazište i spomenik prirode. Arheološki pronalasci temelj su brojnih legendi koje će svim posjetiteljima rado prenijeti vodič pećine i potvrditi njihovu maštu. Kroz ovaj projekt opremljeno je penjalište unutar Ravlića pećine koje prelazi preko spoda same špilje, te tako čini jedinstven doživljaj jednako dostupan i zimi i ljeti. Svi vodiči koji vode ove ponuđene aktivnosti, bilo da je to canyoning, zipline, ferata, su iskusni planari i pripadnici Gorske službe spašavanja, adekvatno obučeni tako da osiguravaju maksimalnu sigurnost polaznika. Nakon svega ovoga dobro istaknuti kako je prepoznavanjem i uređenjem i opremanjem ovih lokacija kroz projekt Adriatic Outdoor Zapadna Hercegovina dobila mogućnost da uvezivanjem ove 2 lokacije ponudi potencijalnim turistima mnoštvo novih sadržaja koji mogu zabaviti i zadržati turiste na ovom području kroz više dana. Odnosno, stvorili smo potencijal da ponudimo različite i sadržajne turističke pakete aranžmane, te otvorili mogućnost korištenja potencijala Jadranskog zaleđa zajedno sa našim partnerima iz Hrvatske i Crne Gore. Kažu da slike govori više od 1000 riječi, pa sam ja pokazao malo više slajdova od predviđenog, jer nadam se da mi neće zamjeriti na tome. Na kraju želim se svima zahvaliti na pozornosti i iskoristiti ovu priliku da vas sve pozovem na jedan turistički vikend u Herzegovini. Evo, za sve neke dodatne informacije možete pogledati naše službene web stranice kao i stranice na društvenim mrežama. Evo, imam toliko od mene.
Hvala Ivo. Hvala na ovim predivnim slikama. Naime, ove 2 lokacije su u potpunosti nova turistička ponuda, znači ovdje nije postojao turizam, nego je to tek od ove godine će u potpunosti znači biti u funkciji turizma. I samo bih te zamolio da odšeraš znači, prezentaciju, pa da možemo odmah skok na krajnji istok do općina Plužine, projekta Turizam, Adrenalin i Rafting Adventure, Tara i gospodina Dušana Radojčića. Dušane, izvolite.
Hvala Ivane, dobar dan svima. Moje ime je Dušan Radojčić i ja sam projektni službenik iz opštine Plužina na projektu prekogranične saradnje Turizam, Adrenalin i Rafting Avantura Tara. Ja bih na samom početku želio da se zahvalim svima vama u svoje lično ime, u ime opštine Plužine i njenih partnera na pozivu za današnje prezentovanje rezultata naših projekta i nadam se da ćemo uspjeti da damo doprinos današnjoj diskusiji. Ja ću evo sad odmah da priključim našu prezentaciju. Na samom početku ja bih htio da vam pružim par informacija o samom projektu. Projekat Turizam, Adrenalin i Rafting Avantura sprovodi opština Plužine u saradnji sa opštinom Foča, Parkom prirode 𝗕𝗶𝗰 i turističkom organizacijom opštine Foča. Projekta finansira Europska unija u okviru drugog poziva program prekogranične saradnje Bosne i Hercegovine i Crne Gore. Projekat traje 24 mjeseca. Mi smo sa realizacijom projekta startovali 1. decembra 2019. godine i kraj realizacije projekta je planiran za kraj novembra tekuće godine. Opšti cilj projekta jeste da se doprinese povećanju broja turista i posjetilaca u Plužinama i Foči, dok je specifičan cilj projekta doprinos kreiranju prekogranične turističke destinacije, međunarodno prepoznate za aktivni turizam. Ono što mi očekujemo da ćemo da postignemo kroz sprovođenje ovog projekta jeste da ćemo da brendiramo prekogranično područje kao jedinstvenu turističku destinaciju za aktivni turizam, da ćemo da razvijemo zajedničke turističke proizvode, da ćemo unaprijediti turističku infrastrukturu i da ćemo da uspostavimo funkcionalne mehanizme za povećanje bezbjednosti na turističkim lokacijama u pograničnom području. Projekat sadrži veliki broj aktivnosti, ali mi smo danas ovdje izdvojili neke za koje smatramo da su najinteresantnije za sve učesnike foruma, kako za njih, tako i za turiste iz Crne Gore, Bosne i Hercegovine, ali i šire. Naime, kako je jedan od glavnih komponenti našeg projekta promocija i razvoj zajedničkih turističkih proizvoda, tu prije svega imamo postojeći proizvod Rafting Avantura na rijeci Tari. Rafting kanjonom Tare predstavlja najznačajniji i najpopularniji turistički proizvod u obje opštine i mi smo u cilju unapređenja lake turističke infrastrukture kroz projekat proširili i uredili polazne platforme za rafting na Tari u Plužinama i Foči, čime smo doprinijeli smanjenju vremena čekanja za ulazak čamaca i povećanju broja turista koji u isto vrijeme mogu da uđu u vodu. Također, kroz projekat je na Prštenovici u Foči postavljena turistička signalizacija u vidu putokaza i tabli. Urađen je također i turistički mobilijar. Postavili smo 5 cjenika na veoma atraktivnim lokacijama i uredili smo 2 nova vidikovca. To je strmena stijena i stijenica. Sljedeća aktivnost koju smo realizovali kroz projekat jeste slobodno penjanje u Plužinama. Kako je slobodno penjanje posljednjim godinama sve više atraktivan i turistički popularan proizvod, mi smo u okviru projekta uradili penjalište piva na 2 km od Plužina. Instalirali smo ukupno 61 smjer za slobodno penjanje na prirodnoj stijeni. Penjalište obuhvata 2 zone, smjerovi su različitih dužina. Pogodni su za sve penjače, od onih početnika do onih najiskusnijih za koje smo uredili smjerove dužine čak od 80 metara. Ono što bih želio da kažem da smo u toku i faze formiranja penjačkog kluba, tako da pozivam sve zainteresovane ljubitelje ovog sporta koji žele da probaju ovu adrenalinsku atrakciju, da dođu po nas u pivu i da uživaju u veoma atraktivnoj lokaciji iznad Pivskog jezera. Ono što je i dalje interesantno jeste da smo u okviru ovog projekta postavili i platforme za posmatranje ptica i divljih životinja. Mi smo ukupno postavili 6 platformi za posmatranje ptica i životinja po 3 platforme u obje opštine, u Nacionalnom parku Sutjeska i u Parku prirode 𝗶𝗏, gdje će ljubitelji ove vrste outdoor aktivnosti biti u mogućnosti da posmatraju različite i rijetke vrste ptica i divljih životinja i ptica. Također, ono što smo planirali kroz projekat jeste da razvijemo kajaking. Kajaking je atraktivan turistički proizvod koji se promovišu turistički potencijali općine Plužine i općine Foča. Prije svega htjeli smo da damo doprinos razvoju kajakinga na Pivskom jezeru, čime bismo povećali njegovu turističku valorizaciju. Kajaking na Pivskom jezeru biće sjajno iskustvo za turiste koje vole laganu vožnju kajacima, dok će ljubitelji adrenalinskog užitka imati mogućnost da kajaking avanturu dožive na brzim vodovima rijeka Plive, Tere i Drine. U cilju razvoja kajakinga kao novog turističkog proizvoda mi smo kroz projekat nabavili 10 kajaka sa pratećom opremom i u pripremi je izrada promo materijala za novi turistički proizvod. To je to što nas očekuje u nekom daljem periodu. Ono što nas očekuje jeste razvoj i promocija speleologije kao novog zajedničkog turističkog proizvoda. Kako obje opštine imaju pećine koje su veoma atraktivne za turističku organizaciju, mi smo u okviru projekta naprijed uradili studiju gdje smo identifikovali koje su to pećine koje mogu da budu pogodne za turističke posjete. Tako da ćemo na osnovu njih u obje opštine po jednu pećinu urediti i pripremiti kako bi se i taj turistički proizvod promovisao i koristio. Također što nas očekuje u narednom periodu jeste osnaživanje ruralnih domaćinstava u obje opštine, gdje ćemo nastojati da povežemo ruralna domaćinstva sa turističkim sektorom kako bi se oni što više uključili u pružanju ovih turističkih usluga. Ja želim da vam kažem da naš projekt obuhvata veliki broj turističkih aktivnosti i mi smo do sada uspjeli da sprovedemo veći broj njih, iako je pandemija koronavirusa u velikoj mjeri utjecala na sam proces sprovođenja aktivnosti i mi se iskreno nadamo da ćemo da uspijemo da do kraja projekta da završimo sve aktivnosti kako smo i planirali. To bi bilo ukratko sve od mene. Ukoliko imate nekih pitanja, ja vam stojim na raspolaganju. Sve informacije o našem projektu možete da pratite na sajtovima općine Plužine i Foča, kao i na sajtu Parka prirode 𝗶𝗏 i turističke organizacije općine Foča. Ja vam se svima zahvaljujem na pažnju i veoma mi je drago što sam dio danas ovog foruma.
Hvala Dušane. Ja sam siguran da će ovo privući pažnju velikog broja sudionika. Privuklo je moju pažnju, tako da
ja vas pozivam iskreno sve da dođete kod nas da uživamo zajedno, samo da prođe pandemija.
Budi siguran da sam ja jedan od gostiju vrlo brzo.
Pa očekujemo vas.
Hvala.
I hvala vam puno na pozivu.
Hvala na dolasku i na sudjelovanju. Sada odmah skačemo na biciklo i pozivam Tonija Zorića, kojemu se ispričavam zato što ga nisam pozdravio na samom početku, ali Toni mi neće zamjeriti. Znači, Herzegovina klaster, jedna nova inicijativa, nova priča. Toni, izvoli.
Pozdrav Ivan, evo, nadam se da se čujemo. Već sam razmišljao kako ću se nagrditi, ali evo, oprostit ću ti ovaj put. Evo, zahvaljujem se na pozivu, pozdravljam sve paneliste kao i sve prisutne naše slušatelje i nadam se da ste svi dobro i da osim ove Zoom konferencije ni na koji način ova korona nije utjecala na vas. Eto, žao mi je što ne možemo da se uživo vidimo i da uživo prezentiramo u našu ponudu. Prije svega moram naglasiti da sam danas iznimno sretan jer dočekao sam razgovor dočekao sam dan koliko vremena stremim i ovaj razgovor i priča o Hercegovini kao poželjnoj biciklističkoj destinaciji, to je nešto čemu ovoliko godina težimo i evo danas smo svi tu i ovim putem. Želim se zahvaliti svima vama i svim onima koji su na ovaj način, na bilo koji način ovu priču i današnji dan učinili mogućim. Moje ime je Toni Zorić, kao što je Ivan najavio, i predsjednik sam udruge Herzegovina Bike, koja je osnivana 2013. godine. Jedan zanimljiv podatak je da prije nekih 15 godina, kada smo počeli širiti priču biciklizma u Hercegovini, imali smo svega nekih aktivnih 5 biciklista. Biciklizam nikoga nije zanimao ni kao vid rekreacije, ni kao sport, a kamoli da pričamo o nekom vidu cikloturizma. No evo, zahvaljujući trudu i upornosti grupe entuzijasta koji su dijelili jednaku viziju i danas smo svi ovdje, razgovaramo o turističkim potencijalima moje zemlje. Moram istaknuti da sam nekako od samog početka bavljenja ovim sportom i cikloturizmom težio sam tome da Hercegovinu napravimo po slici Istre. Naime, ekipa u Istri je radila odličan i danas radi odličan posao po pitanju aktivnog turizma, promocije ovoga sporta. I oni imaju svog čiru, odnosno stazu koja se naziva 𝗵𝗵, imaju bike friendly standardizaciju, odlične rekreativne i profesionalne biciklističke događaje, odlično razrađenu mrežu biciklističkih staza i jednom riječju rade jako dobar posao. Danas, nakon 8 godina od registracije udruge Herzegovina Bike, evo imamo i mi sve to, Bogu hvala, i puno više od toga, vjerujem, i danas imamo mrežu biciklističkih staza u dužini 1300 km sa kompletnom cikloturističkom infrastrukturom i ta ponda se iz dana u dan povećava. Cjelokupna ova fonda je predstavljena na našoj stranici, web stranici Herzegovina Bike. Ja sam prije neku prezentaciju, ali sam se predomislio. Mislim da bi bolje bilo da pokušam to prezentirati na našoj web stranici. Nadam se da ću uspjeti. Super. Znači, cjelokupna ponda biciklističke infrastrukture je ponuđena, kao što sam rekao, na web stranici Herzegovina Bike. Jako lijepe fotografije, detaljni opisi svih tura. Upravo gledamo županiju Zapadnohercegovačku, u kojoj smo kroz projekat Cycling Rural razvili gotovo 1000 km biciklističkih staza. I sav sadržaj s ove stranice dostupan je potpuno besplatno svim turistima i ono što možemo vidjeti da su naše fotografije sa stranica dijeljene i na mnogim stranim agencijama iz cijelog svijeta i da se prodaju turistički aranžmani u Hercegovini. I evo, jako sam sretan zbog toga. No evo, moje osobno mišljenje je da je cijela ova priča krenula rekonstrukcijom Ćire i Ćirine uskotračne pruge, konvertiranjem te pruge u biciklističku stazu od Mostara do Dubrovnika, od Mostara do Trebinja dalje prema Dubrovniku i Konavlima. To je bio projekat koji je aktivni turizam u Hercegovini digao na jednu sasvim novu razinu. Svi strani mediji su pisali o Ćiri, o Ćirnoj pruzi, cikloturističke ponde u Hercegovini. Evo da isti neki od njih su i britanski Guardian, američki New York Times, Lonely Planet je Hercegovinu i Ćiru svrstao na 4. mjesto među 10 najpoželjnijih turističkih destinacija i doista to nisu male stvari za jednu zemlju kao što je Bosna i Hercegovina, za jednu ovako malu zemlju. No, osim što je donio puno pozitivnih stvari, projekat Ćiro i naučio nas je dosta toga. Naime, imali smo jednu izvrsnu cikloturističku pondu, cikloturističku stazu u dužini 180 km, a onda se i postavilo pitanje tko će voditi sve te turiste kad dođu u Hercegovinu, tko će im prezentirati pondu Hercegovine i prenositi im dobre priče iz Hercegovine. Jednom riječ, trebali smo cikloturističke vodiče, bacili smo se evo na posao i u 2015. godini zajedno sa Biciklističkim savezom Bosne i Hercegovine educirali smo 15 cikloturističkih vodiča, a zatim je interes za tim poslom je narastao i kroz projekat Cycling Rural u prošloj godini educirali smo dodatnih 50 cikloturističkih vodiča. Tako da danas imamo jako lijepu bazu ljudi koji su u svakom trenutku voljni da rade i da se bave turizmom i evo prenose dobru priču iz Hercegovine. Dalje, što bih volio istaknuti je da regionalna agencija za razvoj Hercegovine 𝗓𝗏 je uvidjela potrebu za bike-friendly standardizacijom i bili su u pravu. Mnoge smještajni kapaciteti, restorani, agencije i drugi objekti nisu bili upoznati sa cikloturistima i njihovim potrebama i trebala je jedna ovakva edukacija, jedan ovakav projekat kako bi svi ti smještajni kapaciteti bili dobri domaćini i od aktivnih turista i cikloturista dobivali dobre reference i ocjene na Bookingu, TripAdvisoru ili tako dalje. Nažalost, evo, danas imamo koronu i koja je utjecala na turizam diljem svijeta. Evo, nismo posustali, presabrali smo sve naše poslove i snage. Okrenuli smo se nekim drugim cikloturističkim aranžmanima, okrenuli smo se prema profesionalnim biciklistima i kao potencijalnim cikloturistima i domaćem stanovništvu iz Bosne i Hercegovine koje smo kroz određene događaje pozivali u Hercegovinu i poznavanje svoje zemlje kroz aktivni oblik turizma. Evo, prije svega krenuo bi s ovim profesionalnim dijelom. Znači, evo, poznato je da sve nacionalne federacije i profesionalni biciklistički timovi diljem svijeta u zimskom periodu traže povoljnije klime i odlaze u toplije krajeve kako bi tijekom zime neometano trenirali. Znali smo da Hercegovina posjeduje povoljne klimatske uvjete u zimskom periodu za biciklizam. Evo, tu smo bicikliramo svaki dan. Danas imamo kompletnu cikloturističku ponudu koju ti biciklisti mogu koristiti. I naš prvi pilot projekat je sa BiH reprezentacijom, gdje će profesionalni biciklisti iz cijele Bosne i Hercegovine krajem 3. mjeseca doći na pripreme i trenirati upravo ovdje u Hercegovini. Za početak očekujemo nekih 100 biciklista koji će ovdje provesti 7 dana, a znamo kako te pripreme kod profesionalnih timova traju 1, 2, 3, pa čak i 3 mjeseca, pa čak i cijelu zimu. Proveli smo razgovore sa biciklističkim savezima u okolici i mnogi od njih su voljni da sa svojim sportašima dođu, treniraju u Hercegovinu kada popuste ove epidemiološke nepogodnosti. Naime, na ovaj način mi produžujemo turističku sezonu u Hercegovini i vjerujemo kako ćemo u budućnosti imati 1000 profesionalnih sportaša u zimskom periodu koji će boraviti u Hercegovini i kako se ljeto bude primicalo, možemo očekivati priljeve i rekreativnih i aktivnih cikloturista. To je naš cilj kojem stremimo i vjerujemo kako ćemo i uspjeti u tome. Zatim pomenuo sam i rekreativne turiste iz Bosne i Hercegovine. Naime, početkom ove godine napravili smo godišnji kalendar događaja u Hercegovini koji uključuje nekih 40 događaja na godišnjoj razini gdje ćemo pozivati stanovništvo, bicikliste, cikloturiste, aktivne turiste iz Bosne i Hercegovine u Hercegovinu na bicikliranje, druženje, boravak u prirodi i već prošlog vikenda imali smo naš prvi događaj gdje smo posjetili tvrđavu Blagaj i tvrđavu Herceg Stjepana, a Hercegovinu je taj vikend posjetilo 70 cikloturista iz Bosne i Hercegovine. Bitno je naglasiti da sve ove događaje vode i organiziraju naši ciklovodiči koji su kao svoj dio prakse i edukacije na terenu, kako bi bili, kada dođu strani turisti, bili educirani za ovaj dio posla. Kada govorimo o održivosti ovoga projekta, došli smo na ideju da sudionici događaja plaćaju neku minimalnu kotizaciju 3 do 5 eura po događaju i da iz toga fonda financiramo ciklovodiče, odnosno da imaju neku vrstu naknade za svoj dio posla. I moram naglasiti da su iskustva iz ovoga prošlog projekta bila jako pozitivna. Imali smo zadovoljne goste, zadovoljne cikloturističke vodiče koji su odradili izvrstan posao, pozdravljam ih ovim putem i ti vodiči su bili plaćeni za svoj posao i evo, svi čekaju nove događaje, druženja I želio bih evo i dodati da je korist iz ovog projekta višestruka, osim što imamo edukacije cikloturističkih vodiča i oni primaju neke svoje prve plate za svoj posao, imamo izvrsnu promociju Hercegovine na društvenim mrežama, u medijima i imamo prve goste u Hercegovini, čak i kada su granice zatvorene i kad nemamo stranih gostiju, stvaramo naviku domaćeg stanovništva iz Bosne i Hercegovine da koriste turističke aranžmane u svojoj zemlji. Šta bi još mogao reći? Evo, vjerujem da sam i blizu kraju svojih minuta na ovoj konferenciji. Evo, zaključit ću priču podatkom da evo danas nakon 8 godina u Hercegovini imamo 16 aktivnih biciklističkih klubova i već danas nakon ovoga foruma naš sljedeći cilj je razvoj klastera Herzegovina Bike, gdje će svi ovi klubovi u Hercegovini raditi pod imenom Herzegovina Bike, potpisat ćemo memorandum o suradnji i težiti ćemo ka jednom zajedničkom cilju, a to je Hercegovina kao poželjna cikloturistička destinacija. Trenutno evo ekipa koja je u našoj udruzi Herzegovina Bike je odradila zaista velik posao i svjesni smo da neke od izvrsnih i nevjerojatnih stvari možemo napraviti samo udruživanjem i širenjem priče, a kada smo svi složni pod istom vizijom, samo nebo je granica. Na kraju, zahvalit ću još na pozivu, širenju pozitivne priče iz Hercegovine, poželjeti vam da ostanete zdravo i nadam se da ova nepovoljna situacija će što prije završiti i da ćete nam doći u Hercegovinu, provjerite o čemu danas pričamo, o ponudi Hercegovine, o aktivnom turizmu u Hercegovini i da budete naši dragi gosti. Evo, hvala vam svima, hvala Ivane.
Hvala Toni, hvala na prezentaciji, hvala na najavama. Što se to još planira u Hercegovini po pitanju biciklizma, a dobro si primijetio zapravo vidljiv je rast kada govorimo o cikloturizmu u Hercegovinu, a sve zahvaljujući u biti koordinaciji različitih projekata i međusobnoj suradnji. Hvala još jednom. Sada nam je trebala biti naši partneri iz Crne Gore, iz Herceg Novog. Nažalost, neće nam se moći pridružiti jer imamo nestanak struje u Hercegovini, u Herceg Novom, odnosno u dobrom dijelu Crne Gore, tako da imamo taj hendikep, pa ćemo odmah skoknuti na drugi projekat EU for Business, gospodin 𝗓𝗓, znači to projekat kroz koji je provedeno niz drugih projekata, tako da posebno i u segmentu turizma, tako da je odmah zamolio gospodina 𝗓𝗓 da nas kratko prozvede što je to napravljeno i također sam svjestan zapravo da jedan ovakav veliki projekat isto kao i RCC teško je strpati u 10-ak minuta, ali evo ja bih vas zamolio da pokušate. Hvala.
I will try my very best. Can you see my screen?
Da vidimo.
Super. Just another second. Okay, now it should be in full screen mode.
This time.
Thanks a lot for inviting me to this exchange, and also thanks a lot to all my previous presenters for the excellent overview about their projects. I will give a short overview of two initiatives, EU for Business and the COVID-19 investment response or EU for Business recovery projects, which are both financed by the European Union and the German government, and both are jointly implemented by the International Labour Organization, United Nations Development Programme, and 𝗂𝗍𝗄. And overall, these two projects both support private sector development in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and among the sectors that are supported is the tourism sector in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And why the tourism sector? As we heard earlier on, it's a huge contributor to the GDP to the economy of BIH, with roughly 10% responsibility for growth and jobs creation, at least before the pandemic. And then came Corona, regrettably, and now we have to make sure with the investment response initiated by the EU and the German government, and that it becomes this big contributor, this driver of the economy again after the pandemic. So I will give a brief overview of what we are currently doing under EU for Business, the running project, and how we will continue to support the sector during the crisis, and hopefully can help it to overcome it. So how do we support the tourism sector in Bosnia and Herzegovina under EU for Business? And I think I can say we try to plant some seeds. So we have not started with a huge like legal framework or something like that, but we went to the local level. We went to different locations across the country, and in these locations, with the people on the ground there at these destinations, tried to develop the offer there. The offer in a way that it becomes more attractive to customers in BIH, in the region, and internationally. And some of the projects that are supported, which you can see here on the screen, focus on mountain tourism. Others focus on extending the offer around national parks. Some deal with rock climbing or with hiking or cycling. What they all have in common is that they have a focus on either outdoor or cultural tourism, or both of these areas. And as already said, they are implemented by people at these destinations. So it's not GIZ or a big consultancy contracted by us who implements these projects, but it's really people from the region who receive financial support, and if they need additional advisory services from us, so that they can gather all businesses, all stakeholders at their destinations together to improve the local offer and improve the marketing of that offer to be able to place it better at the most important customer groups. So this partnership approach is something that I would say is maybe not unique about this project, but is probably the core strength of the EU for Business activities in the tourism sector in BIH. And how do we help to, apart from planting these seeds, how do we help them to grow? We try to do that by also improving the environment for all of them and other activities in the country a little bit. And we do that or plan to do it by introducing a quality standard for tourism in the country, for destinations on the one hand and for companies on the other hand. And this quality standard has two purposes. One purpose is to improve the sustainability of the offer, because it's a sustainability standard with ecological criteria. So it will help destinations and businesses in the country to create more sustainable business models. And on the other hand, it gives them, both of them, the destinations as such and the different businesses there on the ground, the opportunity to use this label and this certification for their marketing purposes, which allows them to place it in a better way or through different channels that they don't have access to at the moment. So as said, we're trying to support via EU for Business in two ways, by helping the people on the ground to develop their own offer and to improve it, and by improving the environment for the sector with this quality standard certification scheme, which will probably be called BIH Green or something similar to that. That is still under discussion, but we will have 2 pilots this year, and the model will hopefully be presented then in a couple of months to the wider public. So Having said that, all the support we have provided so far was I think you can say a long-term perspective. But in the current situation, you can imagine that doesn't help businesses immediately. And when I talk about businesses, I mean guest houses, hotels, restaurants, cafes, tour operators, because they are hit probably the hardest of all actors in the economy in the current crisis, because tourism is almost completely down. So very quickly, the European Union and the German government provided financial support to initiate a rapid response measure, which is meant to help these actors in the current situation in the crisis. The project setup, as said before, is pretty much the same as for EU for Business, same implementers, same donors, also same beneficiaries, meaning the private sector in tourism. And the approach is also quite similar to what we have done in tourism, meaning we going again for this partnership approach at local level. And the only thing I would say that is slightly different due to the short-term horizon of this, or the short-term need for support in this case, is that we will not select the locations which have the biggest economic potential in terms of growth and job creation, but that we will focus on those destinations which have a potential to still offer tourism despite the circumstances, meaning despite the pandemic. So we will go to rural destinations who have a huge potential for outdoor activities, because these are the ones that are still feasible at the moment. And we will go to those destinations where the ownership of partners on the ground is really, really high. So meaning where the local actors, the tourist associations, the businesses themselves, the municipalities take responsibility themselves and move ahead to gather all partners who live and work at their destinations to develop an offer for COVID-free or let's rather say COVID-safe tourism. To do that, you need, apart from the typical areas of intervention like marketing and sales and product development, you need to start in the current days with safety concepts. So that will be the introductory step that we will develop with these 6 to 8 locations, destinations. We will first develop with them safety concepts for tourism at their localities, and then move into the product development, or I would rather say product adjustment, because the direction in the current days will be to adjust the current offer of these destinations to rather regional and domestic customers. And that comes then with also a repricing effort, repackaging, repricing effort. And we will also help these destinations then as a final step to increase their resilience for the future, and that can best be done by introducing sustainable business models, and we will help them to do that, especially with the certification scheme that is currently under development and then can be implemented through the investment response project in more than only the 2 pilot locations, but then be spreaded already so that in total we have, hopefully after the end of the project, a 2-digit number of locations, destinations, which have already got the certification. All right, that's it from my side. I was asked to keep it short. I hope that was short enough. Only some last remarks. In general, I think I can only agree to everything that the previous speakers have said about the tourism sector. As Mr. Sattler has pointed it out at the start, can become the game changer for the country. Again, I think it's a very nice area to work in, because it creates a win-win situation. if you are in one municipality and your neighboring municipality is developing their tourism offer, that also helps you in your municipality. And the same applies in the region then with the countries. If one neighboring country is developing their offer, that helps you yourself to develop your offer and to connect it to that. So it's one of the few fields where it's less about competition, but rather about cooperation and a win-win situation on the local level between municipalities, but also on the regional level. And that's why I can only thank you for inviting me here, because I enjoy being part of this. Thank you very much from my side.
Hvala vama, gospodine Væcel, evo na aktivnom sudjelovanju i na ono što ste prezentirali da je bilo, ali i onom što ste najavili, evo da ćete već sada nastaviti raditi i siguran sam da ćemo se, ne samo mi, nego svi mi koji sudjelujemo ovdje, srest u skoroj budućnosti, surađujući na ovim aktivnostima. Hvala lijepa. Sada prelazimo na jedan brand koji je već razvijen, koji je već prepoznatljiv u svijetu, 𝗑𝗏𝗏 i nekako je namjerno 𝗑𝗏𝗏 ostavljena za kraj da zaokruži cijelu ovu priču, s obzirom da nije fokusirana samo na jedno područje, nego na šire područje i zaokružuje zapravo stvarno jednu fantastičnu dobru priču na kojoj možemo dalje graditi. Pa evo, zamolio bih Steljanu Nederu i zahvalio joj se na strpljenju. S njom je i kolegica Božena 𝗵𝗏𝗏 koja i u stvarnosti vodi ovaj projekat kao voditelj programa sa sjedištem u Mostaru, da nas provede kroz 𝗑𝗏𝗏. Steljana, izvolite.
Thank you very much, Ivan, and I hope your team can run the presentation for me, if possible. Greetings to all on behalf of the UNDP team, both in Sarajevo as well as the one in Mostar and around the country. We can go straight to the second slide. Thank you. I will try to keep this efficient, as some of the information about the 𝗑𝗏𝗏 itself has already been brought up by the colleagues from the Regional Cooperation Council. What are we looking at here through this concrete support provided by UNDP? We are looking at connecting the beauty of nature and the competitiveness to create some competitive offer that comes from the area to complement the outdoors and the active tourism opportunities in the region. So we are looking at this, exploring and supporting further, in particular in Bosnia-Herzegovina, the segment of this mega trail that stretches through Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Serbia, Montenegro, but also the territory of Kosovo and Albania. So besides kind of supporting positioning of 𝗑𝗏𝗏 as an internationally recognized brand, it is also a platform for community development, building on what a colleague from the EU for Business just said now. It's definitely, as UNDP, we are bringing our experience of local development and our experience with solutions for sustainable development, complementing building a tourism offer. So 𝗑𝗏𝗏, ideally, we see it as a concept that connects culture, history, and nature together with the attractiveness and the uniqueness of the rural areas. The current phase of our work is from 2018 until 2021, and we work with the funding partners, which are the Italian Development Cooperation Agency and the US Development Cooperation, USAID, the US Development Cooperation Agency, and with 18 local self-government partners who are listed here on this side. Next slide, please. So in terms of the 𝗑𝗏𝗏, can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. In terms of the 𝗕𝗏𝗍 offer, in particular for participants that connect to this conference from abroad, just a recollection that we are speaking about the 3 trails. It's the white trail, the green trail, and the blue trail. So the white trail is stretching across region mountains with a length of over 1,000 kilometers, 1,260 kilometers. And it appeals primarily to those in search of adventure and adrenaline experiences, but also recreational visitors that want to enjoy nature and mountain. In addition, the green trail passes also through the forests of Bosnia and Herzegovina and is ideal for a bit less demanding hiking tours and recreation. And the blue trail covers southern Herzegovina and connects this region with the Adriatic coast, opening possibilities for visits inland to numerous tourists that are spending their holidays at the Adriatic coast. The sites through the projects have been featured in international media, also with a lot of spotlight that was put in previous years, for which we are definitely very happy to see this recognition of uniqueness and appeal. Next slide, please. So what did the project offer to this area, to 𝗕𝗏𝗍𝗍? We brought packages of activities that have combined to create kind of a stronger impact. First of all, definitely it's about marking trails. And this is where the partner NGO Terra Dinarica has worked a lot with local mountaineering associations and also local partner self-governments. The next dimension is about safety improvements. So looking at how trails are made safer, increasing also the capacities of the mountain rescue service, and which on this last point, just late last year, we have equipped several mountain rescue service organizations with more kind of equipment and supplies so that they are better positioned to react faster. Then definitely there was a lot of support towards local self-governments, but also towards tourism service providers. In all partner local self-governments, we looked at concrete upgrades in infrastructure and the sites. And then over the 2 phases of the 𝗕𝗏𝗍𝗍 project support from UNDP, there were grants that were given to concrete companies, household individuals that are working to provide a tourism offer. 49 grants have been awarded in the 2nd phase of the project, the one that is currently happening, and they are valued. The grants are pretty small, actually. The average of the grant is $10,000, and we expected the beneficiaries to co-finance. This year we have a final call that will go out in March, so we expect to be able to do this even more. Also, we worked on information promotion and service hubs of 𝗕𝗏𝗍𝗍𝗍, and you see 3 of those locations listed here. Can we go next slide, please? Another important dimensions for work in 2021 is to feature more local products into the tourism offer. And this is where we're also launching a public hall in March of this year, so that we see kind of local crafts, artisan, but also special local foods that they are more available for tourism service providers to all the visitors. The strengthening of the 𝗕𝗏𝗍𝗍𝗍 brand is done in several ways. First of all, working with the Terra Dinarica so that they become a 𝗕𝗏𝗍𝗍𝗍 support center and actually a coordinator to connect and engage with all stakeholders. Then we reach out to connect the 𝗕𝗏𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍 work in Bosnia and Herzegovina with work happening in Albania and Kosovo, including mapping trails, but also transferring capacities. We're happy to use and power the 𝗕𝗏𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍 web with the outdoor active platform, which offers a lot of information, top quality cartography, information on tourism services available, and makes it much easier for visitors and tourists to access and find out what they would like to do. As part of our activity in COVID recovery in 2020, we have worked with 𝗕𝗂𝗶𝗿𝗶𝗀𝗍 to put in place a voucher scheme to attract visitors to 𝗕𝗏𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍 through specific offers. 𝗕𝗏𝗍𝗃𝗃 is also featured in many international fairs. Can I go to the next slide, please? As well as fairs and events happening within the country. So just now in March, we have placed information about the 𝗕𝗏𝗍𝗃 offer on the ITB Berlin. And I invite you all to take the opportunity today to maybe go and visit it. You can get a free ticket on the 𝗕𝗏𝗍𝗃 social platforms. And please do visit the 𝗕𝗏𝗍𝗃 website for more details about what's available. And I hope that the partners that are joining from Europe will find this useful to spread it further. I also hope that the discussion today will give us more suggestions in what we should do next in the next several years. UNDP is at the beginning of a new program cycle. And for us, definitely the socio-economic recovery after COVID, but also a green recovery pathways to 2030 are priorities. And we would like to plan our work forward so that it is most beneficial for the people and economy of the country, but also promote solutions that are environmentally friendly and a nature-based solution. Thank you very much for your attention.
Hvala Stalijena na priličito konciznoj, brzoj i atraktivnoj prezentaciji. I evo, vašom prezentacijom smo, vašim predstavljanjem, odnosno 𝗕𝗏𝗍𝗃 smo zaokružili ovu cijelu priču pojedinačnih projekata, ali i evo na kraju jedne platforme kao što je 𝗕𝗏𝗍𝗃, koja sve što god pojedinačno razvijemo, ono bez obzira je li dio projekta 𝗕𝗏𝗍𝗃, ona je dio imena i dio brenda 𝗕𝗏𝗍𝗃 kao sadržaj koji svi trebamo razvijati. Hvala lijepa Stalijana i hvala lijepa ekipi i timu, kompletnom timu 𝗕𝗏𝗍𝗃. Predstavljanjem 𝗕𝗏𝗍𝗃 smo zaokružili ovaj prvi dio i zahvaljujem se svim predstavljačima. I evo, ovo je s onima s kojima smo radili ćemo nastaviti, s onima s kojima nismo aktivno do sad surađivali ćemo započeti tu aktivnu suradnju. Sada nas slijedi ovaj drugi dio, interaktivniji dio diskusije, rasprave sa našim gostima iz svijeta outdoor turizma, znači onih koji izravno sudjeluju u svemu ovom. Ja vam se evo ispričavam što smo malo produžili ovaj prvi dio panela, a u isto vrijeme vam se zahvaljujem na strpljenju što ste evo strpljivo čekali, ali nadam se da vam je ovo dobar input za vaš razgovor, sve ovo što smo do sada čuli konkretno i da će nekako hraniti ovu vašu raspravu pod prilično stručnom palicom našeg moderatora, gospodina 𝗵𝗍𝗶𝗃. Ali evo, dok se vi malo pripremite, ja ću zamoliti tehničku potporu da nas samo, evo, da malo razbijemo ovu priču, da nam pusti jedan promotivni videofilm, on je samo od minute, da se vi koncentrirate, da se vidite, ali evo da nam to bude na neki način uvod u ovu sljedeću panel diskusiju, pa bih zamolio evo tehniku da pusti video koji je nastao, jedan od videa koji je nastao kao rezultat projekta Cycling Rural. Evo, nadam se da vas je ovaj film malo relaksirao, malo vas opustio nakon ovih prezentacija. Bez daljeg zadržavanja, Nedo, preuzmi palicu i dovedi nas do kraja ovog foruma.
Hvala Ivane, da li se čujemo?
Čujemo.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our panel Adriatic Outdoor Adventure Forum. The main topic of today's discussion is the Eastern Adriatic hinterland. This has to be a unique space for the development of the adventure tourism, experience tourism, or active tourism. This unique karst area of Dinaridi Alps, which extends from Slovenia to Albania, provides an opportunity to all countries of the Eastern Adriatic coast for development of the sustainable tourism. This great challenge for all stakeholders involved in this development planning is a big issue. It's a big challenge. Tourism on the Adriatic coast now is experiencing one of the biggest crises since its beginning. And it's not only because of the pandemic, but also because of rising awareness of the need to preserve the nature. The ecological awareness of modern tourists is stronger under the influence of climate change. The need for active travel in the nature environment is also growing under the influence of lockdown due to the pandemic. Now, how to avoid the mistakes made in the development of tourism in Adriatic, and at the same time ensure the survival of the population in the Adriatic hinterland? Can we take the good side of Adriatic tourism and avoid the bad one? I'm originally come from the island of Krk on Adriatic Sea. Well, by us, it was tourism, the main thing that can turn over the poverty what we had 50 years ago, without the current water, without the electricity, without the connections, without the jobs. My father grew up in one small village. He studied with the petroleum lamp in total poverty after the Second World War. In the years 60s and 70s, last century, the tourism came over again after the Second World War and has developed jobs, has developed facilities, has developed hotels, and we rised 70s, 80s, 90s till the next war, unfortunately. But it was the point where we preserved our people in our region, in a rural region, not to go like years and decades before in overland, not to be refugees. But in the same time, especially now, after the restoration of the tourism, after the pandemic, after the war, after the everything left behind us, there's a lots of bad consequences left on the field after this massive, huge development of tourism. Now, today we have massive concrete structures like 𝗕𝗏𝗿𝗶𝗀 hotel complex in my place, Malinska, the island of Krk, left behind, and still without the life, without the tourism. Can we avoid such mistakes when we developed tourism in another rural area of Adriatic hinterland? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm extremely pleased to welcome today at our main panel guests. My guests, they are European active tourism experts. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. 𝗂𝗶𝗶𝗀𝗁. She is the president of the Association of Adventure Tourism at the Croatian Chamber of Commerce. She is also owner of the adventure agency Feral Tours. She comes from Croatia. Great greetings to Mr. 𝗕𝗂𝗶𝗿𝗀. He is almost a legend of the active tourism. He is an international advisor for tourism development strategy and owner of the Black Mountain Adventure Agency, and he comes from Montenegro. We are really honored to be with us today by Mr. Ed Lancaster, President of European Cycling Federation and urban planning expert. He comes from Belgium. And the last but not least, Mr. Tom Bullman, Director of International Development of the largest European outdoor platform, 𝗷𝗏𝗏 from Germany. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Dear guests, I will ask you for your opinion on how much we have achieved so far with various development projects and how far we come with inclusion of local community, of entrepreneurs in the offer of adventure tourism in the Adriatic hinterland. How much is the Adriatic hinterland recognized till today as destination of adventure tourism worldwide? How have we learned so far from projects like Via Dinarica? What we have learned? What have we done good? What can we do better? So please, Eva, can I ask you first for an opinion?
Of course you can.
Okay.
Hello to everybody. Thank you, Nedo, for this nice introduction and this welcome. And thank you to the organizers for inviting me to this interesting forum. I must first say that I really enjoyed the presentations of Mr. Toni Zorić, because this is many new informations for me. Adriatic Canyoning project that 𝗕𝗶𝗶𝗀𝗁 presented, I'm already familiar with, and I enjoyed being there at sites and seeing what can be done through these projects. And I congratulate to all on everything achieved until now. I believe that this pandemic, like you put it, is a certain type of crisis for all of us. But as we like to look at it in recent years, it's a really, really big opportunity, because it made us stop. It made us think a little bit. I think we were going with the development of tourism just too fast and not thinking it through. And even though we were aware that no man stands alone, and this pandemic has really shown us that it affects everybody. So whatever I do on my side of the planet, sooner or later, it can affect somebody on the other side. And this is a big point to collaboration. So in order to do anything, to develop it in a good way, we need to collaborate, and this is a really good message. A second good message, of course, is that the regions that have been undermined for a long while and have been preserved only for nature lovers have now become open or have been discovered by other people as well. So people are looking forward to going more into the nature and to going more individually, to going more in smaller groups, hanging out with the family. So I think the hinterland has a really, really great opportunity to offer all of this to future guests, and it will be much easier to work on sustainability, to have good relationships with nature, because we did become aware finally of what damage we have been doing to our whole planet. So I think actually this whole situation is a big opportunity for all of us here, and I am honestly very optimistic as far as outdoor tourism development is concerned.
Thank you, Eva. Can you tell us something about the projects you are involved in Croatia, but also in Bosnia and Herzegovina, how you see the project chain, can I say something like that? Do we all understand that one project have to follow another project, and then we have a whole program to complete our destination with various facilities and to various services for the tourists that they want to be active?
Well, that's a really good question. I think we have only recently started realizing this, because Via Dinarica is a great example. Via Dinarica has been present already for quite some time. And in 2014, I think Via Dinarica was recognized as the best new trail. We are now 2021. In order to establish something, it's not just enough to say or do one project and say, okay, we want to make a great outdoor destination, and then we will have a project for 1 or 2 years. Well, we will sensibilize the public to the idea of an outdoor destination, but outdoor destination is so much more and requires much infrastructure. It requires much education of local people, and of course it requires huge marketing in order to make people aware of what we have and what we are offering, what are the intentions. So I think it's good that one project follows another, and what we need is communication between them in order to build up awareness of the outdoor community and of the whole outdoor region.
What can we do better, Eva, in your opinion, in your point of view?
We can always do better. It's never good enough. But the main point is collaboration, communication. This is why I welcome this forum once again. I think it's a great opportunity to meet, to see the best practices that have been done in the field. I mean, when I looked at the presentation of Tony Zoric, immediately what came to my mind is in Zadar region, we have Zadar Bike Magic. So this is something what we see around. And of course, he mentioned Istria. Istria with the Istra Outdoor is a great project. So we watch, we learn from each other. We see what we can do better. And of course, the main thing is we connect, because to our potential tourists, okay, today it's our local tourists because of the situation. This will be our first tourist, but then it will be tourists from surrounding area from Europe, but then it will be a tourist from overseas. Now, tourist that comes from overseas, he traveled a long way. He will not visit only Croatia. Of course, he wants to visit also the neighboring countries. So this connection and collaboration between is very good. And this is something that we can always work on to improve it.
Thank you very much, Eva. I speak with you a little bit later. Jack, please, can you share some experience, your great experience with us? I mentioned you are already a legend of the adventuring tourism in this region. You have lots of experience. You have lots of to say to us. Jack?
Thank you, Nedo. I'm not sure about legend, but you can hear me okay, first of all. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, so your question was, you know, how have things changed? How have they improved? So I've taken as my starting date 2005, because that's when I first came to the region. And I've been a lifelong adventure traveler, and it was my passion to set up an adventure travel business. And back in 2005, I was looking all over the world for somewhere where, with my girlfriend, now my wife, we could set up a company. And we looked at the Balkans, and we realized that the Balkans had all of the natural assets you need: cultural assets, nature-based assets, incredible scenery. It was an adventure travel paradise, but nobody was offering adventure travel back then, or very few. We like to say we were the first here as a pure play adventure travel company. But what we wanted to do is we wanted to attract high value travelers to the region. And the tour businesses then, I think, you know, coming out of the recent history here, back in 2006, they were just building up tourism again. particularly in Montenegro. And I think what the established tour businesses were doing was harking back to what tourism used to look like in the 1980s. And somehow they'd missed 15 years of rapid change in tourism. And that was the growth of adventure travel. So the kind of trips that were being organized back then were primarily, you know, fly and flop, sit on the beach, enjoy the sun on a very crowded coastline. And then there would be a few cultural tours, which was this sort of formulaic, sit on a bus, 50 people, observational tourism, stop and look at things. So that was the way tourism was set up back then. And I think, you know, we did bring a breath of change here, and I know some other companies did as well in other parts of the Balkans. But when I say we wanted to bring high value travelers, it's not just the fact that they spend more and stay longer and more likely to return, and obviously that's a good thing. But the adventure travelers are more educated. So already they were demanding more sustainable travel before COVID. They wanted to have these immersive cultural experiences where they actually got to meet real local people and have genuine connections with the culture. They wanted activities that opened up the history of this region and the culture of this region, so cooking classes and this kind of thing. And they wanted that money that they spent to actually benefit local people as well. And the nice thing about adventure travelers is they're much easier to disperse because they're not attracted to the big mass tourism destinations, you know, the big draws. I mean, Sarajevo and Mostar, obviously, they would want to see them, but, you know, that's not all they're coming for. They want to get away from the other tourists primarily. And they're less seasonal as well. So back in 2005, when we set up our business, everybody said to us, you're crazy. You know, people aren't going to come for this kind of tourism. It just doesn't exist. And the offer was very undeveloped through the whole region. I mean, looking at Montenegro, where I was based, we had the rafting, but it wasn't particularly great quality, I have to say. And the problem with the rafting back then was really safety and health. You know, it wasn't mandatory to wear a helmet. It wasn't mandatory to wear a life jacket. And for the first 5 years we were in business, every summer 2 people drowned in the 𝗏 River. And they were all avoidable deaths because the companies there were not taking safety and risk seriously. And that's one thing that I have seen improved a lot. I'm seeing a lot of companies now out there, a lot of the suppliers that we work with understand how important this is. And you start to see companies bringing in things like activity waivers and doing risk assessment before every activity. I still don't think enough companies are doing crisis management planning, you know, what happens if something goes wrong. But that's one area of improvement I've seen. Another area where there's been definite improvement would be sustainability. I mean, the situation back in 2005, nobody in the tourist industry was giving any consideration to sustainability. And, you know, we had some laughable examples where we had one of our guides with an American group. He made this beautiful speech about how the 𝗏 River is the last tear of Europe. And it's so clean you can drink it. And then he flicks his cigarette butt into the river. You know, we had a park ranger in one of the parks telling our guests to hide their trash under a tree, this kind of thing. So really, you know, that was ground zero. And sustainability has moved on an awful lot. And what I think has happened is the tourist industry are dimly aware, if you like, that sustainability is important. And I think they want to be sustainable. And I'm current chair of the Western Balkans Geotourism Network. And this is a network of private sectors throughout the Western Balkans. And we came together because we wanted to promote tourism that values and protects your nature and your culture, but also benefits local communities. And I'm pleased to say, you know, we have 265 active members now on our social media sites. About 80 of those are companies. So there's a real need now for sustainability, and people do understand they want it. But again, I don't think people fully understand what it entails. When they talk about sustainability, they tend to think about just environmental sustainability. There's also social sustainability as well. And very few of the companies that I work with here understand global sustainable tourism criteria and what that is and how to apply it. The international standard for sustainability, ISO 20611, very few companies have heard of it or are applying it. One thing that has been successful is Leave No Trace. I think people are aware of the outdoor ethics. When we started our company, we actually introduced Leave No Trace ourselves to Montenegro. So we, with help from UNDP, who helped us with this, but we also put our own money in to bring trainers over and started training other businesses and training some lecturers at the local university and people like this. So we started a Leave No Trace network, and we still offer free seminars in Leave No Trace, even to our competitors. So that's one area that's developed. But I think in terms of social sustainability and protecting the communities and the hosts of tourism, we still have work to do there. We still need to make progress on that. One problem we had starting out was that there was nowhere we could go to for support and information. Where can we find out about risk and safety management? Where can we find out about sustainability? And you know, still there's a lack of resources that businesses can go to. This could be something that could be conducted through the small business advisory services throughout the Balkans, but it's not currently part of their offer. But as I'm sure many of you know, I'm advising with the new 𝗂𝗏𝗃 project, the USA 𝗂𝗏𝗃 project, which is just launching in Bosnia-Herzegovina. And one of the things they're doing through the project is creating this academy, the Tourism Academy, where we're going to publish all this information in local language so that people can actually have access to this in the future. So that's one thing that needed to change as well. How have things changed? So one big improvement, and I've seen this and listening to the other speakers today, is the variety of activities we have on offer. Back then in Montenegro, it was pretty much rafting, a bit of cycling, some horse riding of fairly poor quality. And as a company, we had to invest in all of this ourselves. We didn't want to do that. We just want to organize the tours, and we want to work with local providers. We have a great range of activities now throughout the Balkans that we can offer. And as I said at the beginning, I think we were the first adventure travel company in Montenegro. According to the Adventure Travel Trade Association, in a survey they conducted 2 years ago, there's now 80 companies just in Montenegro alone that are offering adventure travel. So that's great. This is the direct result of all of these projects we're seeing. We need more variety in the offer. I think what we do need to do is link up these new offers that we're creating with the adventure travel community here, the adventure travel providers, with the established traditional tour businesses, because I still think there's a disconnect. I think we've got a lot of businesses that understand adventure travel and the activities, and they're enthusiastic and passionate, but they don't maybe understand the craft of tourism. They don't understand things like release days and commissions and this kind of thing. We've got some really good established tour companies here that understand all of that side of tourism, but I think too many of them are not really considering how they can bring adventure travel into their offer, and they're still out there selling this as a destination. It's a budget destination. And you know, I did a lot of consultancy work, as you know, throughout the region, and I've been looking at lots of tour sites and how people are selling the region, and more than 50% of the established tour operators here are still selling the Western Balkans as a budget destination. They're still following that old model. As many tourists as you can get, and we can attract them with low price, and that's always been a really bad business model. And because of COVID, because people are now wary about being in large groups, I think it's an even worse model for the future.
Yeah, thank you, Jack. We will continue a little bit later on this point because the COVID, I think, changed a lot. Ed, thank you. You have some time to share with us today. We are very glad to be with you, to host you in our panel discussion. Can you tell us a little bit how do the countries and the regions of the Eastern Adriatic hinterland participate in the development of the cyclomobility? In the first place, according to the plans of the European Union, what is the perspective of cyclotourism development in this area? So we have two things to discuss for. One is cyclomobility, like mobility of the people, of the passengers, and another one, cyclotourism, like one next step of the cyclomobility. Ed, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, great. Thank you.
Great. I should start by saying I'm not actually the president of the ECF. I'm the Euro Vlade director. But
okay, maybe you will be. One day. Thank you. Thank you. You are director. My apology.
Yeah, so I should just say European Cyclist Federation, the umbrella body representing all the national and regional cycling organizations in Europe. So we represent 500,000 individual cyclists across Europe, and we're based here in Brussels to try and influence the EU policies. So I'll start with your first part of your question about cyclomobility, so mobility cycling, because our aim is to get more people cycling, as you can imagine, across Europe. The current commission, we have made a big deal about having this Green Deal. So the focus for the coming commission was going to be on more sustainable policies. And because so much needs to change in terms of transport, in terms of meeting the climate targets the commission has set itself, we thought this is going to be a good time for promoting cycling. This is a good moment to get people investing in cycling. Of course, COVID has changed the situation quite a lot. As we all know, all our lives have been upended the last 12 months. And cycling has actually really stepped in terms of a mobility option during this difficult period we've been through. So we've been collecting data about how much cities have been investing in cycling across Europe. We've calculated our tally is currently up to over €1 billion is being invested in cycling related measures, and over 1,000 kilometers of cycling lanes, traffic calming and car-free streets have been installed across Europe. And of course, our focus now is to try and turn these temporary measures into permanent measures so they can benefit the communities going forward. And this is a moment to try and get people to change their lifestyles and to embrace these temporary measures and incorporate it as part of their daily patterns going forward. Switching to tourism, I mean, it's a similar story in a way. Eva was mentioning there about how there has been growing recognition over the last few years that tourism patterns that have developed in Europe over the last few years are not sustainable. Concerns about the environmental impact, the impact on these city centres where issues of perceived over tourism have been being raised. So I think there was growing recognition that the tourism model had to change. And again, COVID has been acted as an accelerator. It's obviously had a devastating impact on the tourism sector, but I think the sector as a whole, and I'm speaking here on a European level, we're in contact with many of the tourism bodies working on a European level. I think the tourism sector realizes this is a bit of a wake-up call, that it is an opportunity to reinvent themselves and to tackle some of the issues that had been building up. And again, cycle tourism, I think, fits in nicely with this story, because although, as I say, the sector's been badly hit the last 12 months, in fact, cycle tourism numbers have generally been up. We had data published just yesterday in Germany. Our German member ADFC published their annual analysis of cycle tourism in Germany. 40% more leisure cycling trips last year, 1.8 million newcomers on cycling holidays, 40% of cycle travelers were doing a cycle trip as a substitute for a proposed or cancelled trip, postponed or cancelled trip. 70% of people who did a cycle holiday trip during 2020 are now thinking about doing a cycling trip in 2021. So I think cycle tourism is well placed to continue to grow. I mean, it's obviously safe, healthy, takes people off the beaten track, supports small to medium enterprises. I think it has so much potential, as we've been hearing, of course, some of the projects we've been hearing this afternoon. So I think this is a moment really for cycle tourism to shine and to develop even further. This is a good time for it.
How do the Eurovelo ways or connections help to this region to be more perspective in the cyclotourism?
Yes, so for those who aren't familiar, the ECF coordinates what's called the Eurovelo network, the European Cycle Route Network. So it's a network of 17 long-distance cycle routes that connect the whole continent. Wherever possible, they're based on existing national and regional cycle networks, so we're just trying to connect them together. Each route has a particular theme. So, for example, we have Eurovelo 8, the Mediterranean route, the Eurovelo 13, Iron Curtain Trail. So the Danube, the Eurovelo 6 follows the river routes, so it goes along the Danube. So we have various thematics. I think the important thing is that they form a framework for cycle route networks on a national and regional level. So at the moment, Bosnia and Herzegovina doesn't have one of these Eurovelo routes, and I think it's obviously a missing part of our map if you look at it. And I know there are efforts to try and establish Eurovelo route, for example, along the Sava River in the north of the country. So we don't actually have a national Eurovelo coordination center in Bosnia and Herzegovina at the moment. We do have a contact point, which is the Center for Environment, and they're working with transnational partners to try and develop this cycle river, the cycle route along the Sava River. of course, we try and fill in to make sure that Bosnia-Herzegovina is included in the Eurovelo map, but I think it's also important to include national and regional networks as part of that. And again, I was pleased to hear some of the presentations earlier to say that that work has begun, and that national and regional networks are starting to be mapped out, because these can form a great background and a great tool for cycle tourism products. So if you have well-developed routes, then they can be used by cycle tourists, but also with benefits for local communities too, because if you're investing in cycling infrastructure for cycle tourists, the same cycling infrastructure can be used by the local communities too. So, and I think Jack was mentioning there, the sustainability aspect is also social sustainability. So if you're investing in tourism, it should benefit for the local communities as well as the tourists.
Thank you very much, Ed. It's nice to hear that the plans of the extension of Eurovelo is still here on the table. We hope that next year when we see each other can conclude that we have new route Eurovelo to the Bosnia and Herzegovina, maybe to Montenegro. Well, Thomas, Outdoor Active follows the development of the adventure tourism offer in Eastern Adriatic hinterland. You are pretty much a great support to all these activities. How much have we achieved in the last 5 years, let's say, and how do you see the best way of potential development?
So, thank you, Nida. First of all, what a great forum. So, really enjoying the whole afternoon so far, and thanks even for the video. I was directly pumped to jump on my bike and go for cycling on the scene. Yeah, we can see the direct development since we are one of the technical providers of the Via Dinarica White Trail project, where we are providing the website. We can see that development pretty straightforward, and this development is great. So I just looked up the numbers before our forum today, and since the last 3 years, we gained 2.3 million page views, clicks, awareness of this project in the Outdoor Active platform and for this website. And this shows the interest and the potential, which is absolutely lying there. And on the other hand, it shows also then the hurdles, what we also heard already today from the other presenters before, that like Madlina said, that data availability, the analytics out of that behavior, what is going on with the users, where they are coming from, which target group are visiting my destination, my place, what kind of standardization processes needs to be developed. A few are already developed, but they are not really linked all together. And that linkage is that what we see in the projects where we are participating, that there are so many great initiatives around, but the link between them in terms of technical infrastructure is missing so far. It's a great communication, it's a great community, but in terms of having data access, which are delivering these kind of insights to build these projects, these fundamental essence on the data, which in the end makes projects then more sustainable beyond the project period. These obstacles are still there, and also shown in the slides of Madlina today, and as Eva said as well before, I see the pandemic as absolutely potential, especially for the smaller destinations, because since last year the whole tourism was stumbled. We all know that, we are all aware of that, but they could step back. So everyone from small destinations to large destinations could step back, and the small destinations are able to catch up now if they do their homework right and use the potential and all the knowledge which is in the area, especially in the Balkans, the wild beauty of the nature there, the great adventure offers out there, and the whole package to be offered in the Balkans is exactly that what adventure travelers are seeking for. It's that combination. It's not a single attraction. It's that combination of the package, having cultural, culinary experiences with being partly active. It's not the full-time sports freak searching for these activities, but it's the combination. And this offer is available in the Balkans, in the hinterland, in the Adriatic hinterland, but the forces needs to be joined more effectively, and that's getting more and more clear to us as a platform where all this data is coming together from more than 10 million registered users and more than 2,500 touristic players globally. We know what users are searching for, at what time, what they are doing, what they are searching on site. So we really can see that out of the data, and that's why I still see these hurdles also in the Balkans, and it's more important than ever before to collaborate with the rural tourism and the smallest tourism stakeholder down to the inhabitants. Like Ed said, the inhabitants are also part of the tourism, and they also need to be benefited by the tourism activities, by the marketing activities. And if it is achievable that after a project, the ownership of this project could be handed over into a tourism authority, I think this is key for long-term sustainable success of projects, adding up with new projects coming together and then building this sustainable environment.
Oh, we lost you for a moment, but you are with us. Do you hear us? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Hopefully you haven't lost me after a minute.
No, that was very interesting conclusion. Eva said, Jack, and also this cooperation and between the regions and between the countries and collaboration, it's maybe in this point crucial. Because in some regions you have good organization of the local community, in another there's a state makes a rule, in another there's international projects run from the professional management, but they have to stick all together in one platform sooner or later to be more visible. What you give me like one good entry for the next round of the question is the COVID era. I heard yesterday something very interesting. They mentioned in this economic forum in Davos that we will count now the new millennium like BC and after BC, before the Christ and after Christ, but now it's before the COVID and after COVID. So deep the change is now, and these changes bring us totally a new start for tourism, I think, because what Jack said, we have great tour operators, we had a great organization of the tourist traveling, but now they are hit very badly with the COVID crisis over the 1 year. And in this moment, what it's look like, it will be more individual traveling, it will be more digital organized traveling, it will be more traveling in smaller groups, it will be more private traveling, it will be more traveling in the nature. Health is in the first place, no crowded spots. There is a question also recovering for the post-COVID syndrome, like searching for best condition of the body, to search the spots where there is maybe possibility to bring new energy to our body. Also, active tourism have a good start now for next period to be maybe one of the most important. So Eva, to start with you, what is your opinion? This new era after BC, what would be like it? How do you see the organization of traveling, especially in this kind of active tourism, experience tourism? that tourism, they seek new spots, they seek, the new tourists seek new areas, new attraction. Maybe the new tourists seek to discover themselves, not only the environment. Eva?
Sorry, I was muted. Well, Nedo, I don't think, well, I can agree there is before. I don't think, honestly, there is an after. I have impression that this condition is something that we will quite soon have to get used to living with. Honestly, maybe I will sound a little bit brutal, but I see this as a certain evolution step, because whoever remains normal after this can move forward. Because I think we have all been very seriously tested in so many ways. You mean in social relationships, with the close ones and family and people around you, and how responsible we are in the whole situation and everything. It's not easy to cope with. But again, like I mentioned before, I think it's a major wake-up call. I think this in a certain way teaches us, like there is a saying, life is a journey, it's not the goal. So this teaches us, I think, to appreciate more every moment we are living in. And I think this reflects as well on traveling. So I think people will not, I hope so at least, will not be so consumed anymore about, okay, we are traveling, let's say, to Europe, to Italy, and then we will fast go through everywhere and fast take pictures to show on our Instagram profile or wherever we want to show it off. I think that people will more turn into themselves and ask themselves, okay, am I really enjoying this? Is this something I can really learn from? Is this an experience, you know, that I want to live? And I think this type of tourist will be much more rewarding to all of us working in the business, because we can really offer something worthwhile. We can really teach this tourist about our countries and environment, and he will accept it in a way to appreciate it more. So I think we will learn from our guests and they will learn from us, but altogether, I hope at least we will be more aware and more appreciative of the nature and of the country we live in.
It seems to me it will be again tourism like we had years and years ago, because my grandfather told me that before the Second World War, he had a guest in my home town of Malinska, and the guests, they were there. They spent whole summer, whole family, whole summer in fishing, in sailing, and have a picnic, and enjoy a lifestyle of the family they rented. And then after that, we have this revolution of mass tourism and fast. And then we came to this point after BC. Maybe this is a step forward, but we have to go a step in the past, like look for our bases.
Return to the roots.
Return to the roots, right. Thank you, Eva, for now. Well, Jack, your opinion, how can we go further? Is this a big chance for this type of tourism, adventure tourism, outdoor tourism, responsible tourism? Can we say responsible for the tourist and responsible for the local community?
First of all, I want to agree with everything Eva said there, particularly that no one's going to be normal after this. But fortunately for me, I wasn't particularly normal beforehand, so it shouldn't change too much. But Yeah, and what you're saying there as well, 値𝗏, about this concept of slow travel, of spending a long time in one location. I've been talking to a lot of my clients. I mean, my company, we're a white labeled tour operator, so we're not that well known, but we provide tours for some of the biggest names in adventure travel here in the Balkans, people like 𝗂𝗽𝗍𝗿𝗄𝗏 Adventures, for example. So I've been canvassing them and trying to find out from them what they're looking for and how they see the market changing. And there's a lovely quote from the Minister of Tourism for Cornwall, I think, who said, "Your house used to be your refuge and now it's become your office, your home and your open prison." And people are desperate to get out and travel again. And so, of course, the first thing we're going to see is they're going to want to get away from cities. They're going to want to get rural, back into nature. There's this concept developing of pod travel, which you're probably aware of, and that's where people will just travel in small groups. They'll travel with the people they left home with, their family perhaps, people they haven't seen all year, and they'll go and find a farmhouse and they'll just isolate themselves there. And they'll spend a long time there. This is another concept that people are talking about, double downers, because for us in tourism, we've lost a lot of money this year, but a lot of people with a steady income, they've had nothing to spend money on for the year, and they didn't have a trip last year. So they're going to double down this year. They're going to spend longer, they're going to spend more money. And then perhaps they're going to want to find this farmhouse and self-isolate there. They're going to want outdoor activities and pursuits, of course. And I think you said this, 値𝗏, about treating the illness, and there's this new concept now of holistic wellness. So wellness is not just going to a big spa resort, but wellness now is things like forest bathing and yoga with animals in a farm and this kind of thing. So these are the things that are becoming the real hot topics this year. I was working with some of the tour operators for tourism, for getting them ready for Berlin ITB, and we were looking at what the kind of products people are putting together. One thing that might be difficult to sell, I think, in the short term is the cross-border tours. And I totally agree with what we heard before about the importance of selling the whole region as one. But, the idea that I don't want to take on too many borders this year, just in case, there's going to be restrictions and all this kind of thing. So for the short term, we need to develop in each of the destinations sufficient variety of product to have somebody spend a month there and still not run out of things to do. And I think we can do that. But just to sum up, I mean, what we're seeing is an acceleration of change that was already happening. The adventure travel industry, which has already offered this kind of experiences, that was growing at 23% per year before COVID. I mean, that compared to 8% growth for tourism. It's the fastest growing sector. And it was worth 680 billion. It's going to be years before we get back to that kind of number. But, I think what we are seeing, and I've heard other people say this, the tour operators that were relying on mass tourism, high numbers, low price, they really should be now thinking about, well, how do we bring more sustainable adventure travel into our offer? Because that's going to come back much faster than mass tourism, for sure.
Thank you very much. Ed, we are talking about some kind of slowbalization. We are going slow down. I heard that air traffic is back to 70s during the pandemic time, and everyone now is looking to enjoy in traveling in another way. Can the bicycle be the future vehicle of traveling? Because on the bike you are slow enough to enjoy the landscape, you are enough mobile to go for 50, 60, 70, even 100 kilometers per day. You can stop over wherever you want. I heard today something very, very interesting, that the vehicle like bicycle is only vehicle where the motor is the man, the human, and it's healthy. It's healthy to travel with bike, but also to provide this kind of traveling to mass audience. We have to support our ways, our routes with services all along the way. Europe, especially here on the Adriatic coast and the Adriatic hinterland, to be sure that the people can stop over every 30 kilometers to have all they need. How do you see the future of cyclotourism regarding the cycling way of the traveling?
Yeah, Woody, I mean, you're doing my job for me and selling the benefits of cycling a little bit there, Nida. Thank you for that. Yeah, I think the numbers of people, the number of trips people are going to make, eventually it's going to bounce back. I mean, people still want to do their holidays. I think it's the type of holidays, that's what we're saying here, are going to, or hopefully going to change and do different things. And I said before, my last piece, that I think cyclotourism is well placed to benefit from that, because it takes people away from these busy city centres, off the beaten track, to rural areas, support local small and medium enterprises. It's safe, it's healthy. Yes, it's one of the few types of holidays where you possibly come back fitter than when you left. So it has a lot of benefits. It's well placed. I think destinations, you're right, I think your point there then can do a lot to encourage that in terms of services. So many countries now have these cycle-friendly service schemes, so a badge that hotels, restaurants, museums can put in their windows to say that they've got facilities for cyclists, safe and secure bike racks, maybe some repair kits, information about local cycle routes. So these kind of measures to support cycle tourism beyond just the infrastructure, because having signed cycle routes, of course, is the basis, if you like, but having supporting services are important. And stepping back on the European level, I think you made the point there about the airlines. I mean, I think that's a key consideration, because I think people are going to look for more sustainable options going forward, particularly traveling longer distances. So can they take their bike with them on the train or on long distance coaches? Are there those facilities available? I think that's going to be something that's going to be asked more and more of. And fortunately, a lot of rail companies and long distance coach companies are rising to that for business reasons, of course. They are starting to provide that, which is a good sign.
Thank you very much, Ed. That's what I mentioned also to ask Thomas. Can you share with us some data now in this last few months? The searching of the destination. Can we compare with previous year or BC, before the COVID time? It's more like a search for the local destination in the country, in the next neighbor country. Can you compare the data? Jack said, and I think he's 100% right, that first tourism, what will come back is domestic tourism. First in your own country, then maybe neighbor country. How does it like when you see the data, when you see the numbers in your platform?
So first of all, you can hear me and I'm there and I'm not speaking blind. Yeah, I totally agree. We really could see the change immediately when the pandemic starts. So according to the lockdown situation, depending in which country it occurs, so different countries have been in different periods of COVID lockdown. And according to the lockdown situation, we could see the change in the search behavior, like local first, absolutely, because the people are blocked to travel internationally, or even in Germany, for example, nationally. So you have been locked down to your rural area. So they immediately started to explore in a digital way their surroundings. So exploring the trails around their house, their hometown, about the local canton. This is how the lockdown was managed in Germany. The canton level was the largest level where we were allowed to travel. And this search behavior we could clearly see. And I think in combination with the new demand for tourism now, not past COVID, so now with the new situation, are safety concepts where the people feeling safe to travel to a certain place to stay longer. I also totally agree with that the people tend to stay longer again, not jumping from one place to another. And these combination of safety concepts together with flexible booking opportunities, this will be the success combination to be successful in the end for small and rural regions, to attract the right travelers to their destination and to their area. Because now really before Corona, everything was performance driven. Only full beds only beds have been sold, more tickets, more beds, more experiences. Everything was going higher, faster, quicker, and everything was aiming for better performance. And with the pandemic, this changed dramatically, as we all know, and big loss, economically loss for tourism. And that's why these concepts will be successful for the restart in tourism, in my opinion.
So can we say safety first? It have to be clear announced that we are safe in terms of COVID.
So again, the combination is key. So it's not only being safe if you go somewhere and then it's little to experience because the touristic product is not existing for smaller groups, because I also would say the price level can go up for certain experiences, because if a certain trip with a smaller group is feeling more safe to a traveler, they are eventually willing to spend more for the same trip than maybe 20 people more on a city guide to Moscow, for example, is more valuable in the end. Then you learn more if you go in a group of 6. Eventually your own family only, and the people tend to pay for that kind of extra service, better experience, safer travels.
Okay, the both, yeah. Attractions and safety. Thank you, Thomas. We finally come slowly to the end. I will kindly ask you a few words about this first Adriatic Outdoor Adventure Forum. What do you feel like? Is this a good way to exchange experience, to encourage each other, to make new steps in the development of sustainable tourism, responsible tourism in Adriatic hinterland? And also, just in 2 sentences, what is your conclusion? And that in the end of the day, Iva. Iva, where are you? Are you with us, Iva? Well,
Iva left suddenly. Maybe the connection was broken.
Okay, then I will kindly ask Jack to answer the question.
I'm ever so sorry. I thought you were asking the question of Ed. What can you just recap very
briefly?
briefly?
No problem. Well, finally, a few words about Adriatic Outdoor Adventure Forum. What is your opinion? Can this be a pit stop every year for this kind of discussions in the region? And secondly, a few sentences of outline the today discussion.
Yes, absolutely. I was busy reading all the questions when you were asking yours, because I thought you were asking Ed the question. So I was reading the chat, and there's some very good comments coming on the chat. Yeah, well, I think we need more of this kind of forums where people can actually, in the future, perhaps one thing we're trying to do through tourism is have these forums and then give people the opportunity to pose questions and vote on things. And it's a great way of collecting the expertise that's out there as well. I know it's very nice to be invited as an expert, but we have a lot of expertise in this region already. Yeah, I think this is how we share information. This is how we share knowledge. And there's a lot of companies who think they're working on their own. And this is my comment I made in my first piece, where you've got these adventure travel companies who are trying to do the right thing. They're trying to be sustainable. They're creating fantastic new product. But they say to me, but we can't get the big tour operators interested yet. The big inbound operators that are based here, the big, I won't name any, but the guys in the region who have the logistics, they have the buses, they book all the hotels. they weren't interested in this kind of tourism before. And in Montenegro, we saw a step shift actually a few years ago when Putin ordered all of the Russians to stop coming to Montenegro and instead to go to the Crimea. And suddenly all of these big established companies were finally coming to me saying, well, how do we join the Western Balkans Geotourism Network? How do we learn about these kind of things? You know, because these kind of shocks, they're what make change happen. And 𝗂𝗏 said this nicely, it's an evolutionary step. So I think we need more of these forums. I think we need more discussion within the region. And, you know, as I said, there is a lot of expertise out there. And I know there's a lot of people thinking they're working on their own in a silo. And they don't realize that there's a lot of other people throughout the whole of the Western Balkans who have the expertise, have the knowledge, and have already led the path. And this is a great opportunity, definitely, for them to get together and talk. And I've learned a lot as well from this. One of the questions we didn't have time for today was, how would we change projects in the future? And I think sometimes, I hope you're not going to ask that in a moment, but one of the things that happens as a tour business here is these projects come and go, and I don't often hear about them. For example, there's been guide training in the region, and I contacted the donor agency and said, well, who did you train? Because I want to employ the trained guides, and nobody told me. So, you know, we need more information about what's going on, about the projects that are happening. And I've learned a lot, even though I work in lots of projects in the region. There's many things that happened today I didn't know were happening. So, you know, thank you very much for inviting me. It's been really useful to me as well.
Thank you very much, Jack. We learned also a lot of from you today. Ed, your final speech?
Yeah, well, for me personally, as I said earlier, we don't unfortunately have a Eurovelo route going through Bosnia-Herzegovina at the moment. So for me, learning about all these different activities has been great. I've learned a lot myself. I support the message, I think, that several people have said throughout the afternoon, that this kind of event to bring people together, stakeholders together, is the way to go. And I liked Neil's quote, Niels Wetzel, less about competition, more about collaboration. I like that a lot. I mean, I think, don't necessarily see yourself as in competition with other people. Let's work together and make better offers that benefit everyone. Not directly answering your question, but one final point, because we've talked a little bit during the day about different financial possibilities. We're just about to start a new EU financial period, and now is an opportunity to try and influence the potential calls that we'll publish during that period. So I'm not going to go into a big speech now about how to do that, but if you want to contact us about how to potentially include cycling projects within EU funding, and I know some of the participants joining today are not just from Bosnia-Herzegovina, but some of the neighbouring countries too. So if you want some advice about how to include cycling projects in potential EU projects, then please let us know. And we've got some of my colleagues work on that exclusively, so that's available. But yeah, thanks to the organisers, and I hope this is the first of more to come.
Thank you very much, Ed, to supporting us. And as I said, last but not least, Thomas.
Not to forget Eva, she joined back again. Yeah, what very little to add to the previous speakers. So it's a great forum. It's a great possibility to exchange. I also as well learned a lot I haven't heard before, being involved in several projects in the area as well. Eventually including opinions from participants, from really local stakeholders. More could be enriching the whole format even more, to have a more lively discussion then, and in the end a better networking possibility afterwards. So nothing more to add. I think it's very, very valuable, and I'm also very happy to be part of it, and thanks for the invitation.
Thank you so much, Thomas, for supporting us. Eva, are you come back?
Yeah, I came back.
No.
Well, I didn't.
No, you were the first, and you will be now the last.
So thank you, gentlemen, for letting me speak first, and thank you for letting me wrap up. I did not leave on purpose, but everything was so interesting that I didn't realize that my battery was dying on me, and then it was just block. What happens? So Thank you very much. I really enjoyed the forum. I enjoyed this exchange of information. I think it's very, very useful. Any type of forums like this is always useful, even if you learn only from one person, one thing. It's better than not having known it before. So thank you once again. I learned quite a lot. I hope we will see each other more.
Thank you so much, Eva. Thank you, dear guests. I hope we will meet again, but live in Herzegovina to drink together a coffee, good Herzegovina coffee, and the good cookies they have in 𝗵𝗍𝗍. You don't know how they good are. On the end, let me say a few words of the conclusion. This PC era, post-pandemic era, is a big opportunity for developing sustainable tourism, responsible tourism, tourism in the Adriatic hinterland. Regarding this Dinaridi Alps, including Slovenia till the Albania, when we see the possibilities what we have in those countries here, one by each other, this mixture of the culture of gastronomy, of the nature beauty, what we have here, people living in this area, it can be maybe in PC time or era one of the first spots in the whole world you have to see in your lifetime. In meantime, I would like to encourage people to travel in own country. There's so much to discover in Croatia for us Croats, in Bosnia and Herzegovina for all the people in their country, in Montenegro. In every country, there is the time now, because of this situation, we have opportunity to learn more about our country. And also, like hosts, we are working in tourism, it's good to know what we have in countries, what we have in the next region, what can we recommend to our next guests when they come to visit us. And in the end, I can say that we have lots of friends. Some of them have joined us on today's panel. They all have a good will to help us to be better, to be more successful. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Please be with us. In next time, follow us in the social networks. Thank you.
Thank you, Nedo. I will conclude. I will close the forum. Thank you, Nedo. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Eva, for this really interesting conversation. I have nothing to add. You said everything. I just hope that I learned a lot, but I just hope that the participants learned also a lot, and that we will build on this. And I'll just add, Nedo, okay, welcome to Herzegovina, not only for coffee, but also for wine, because Herzegovina has really good wines. Really, thank you very much for your participation, for your support, and definitely this is going to continue. The project is going to end, but our activities is going to continue. So this network that we built through this forum, not only of the panelists and our guests, but also the attendees, around 280 people participating and watching this, registering for this event, it is very valuable for the future cooperation, for future coordination, and for future joint projects, and for future tourism development and promotion. So we will end now. I consider it very successful this day, this long day. We will also close with the final video while we are actually leaving the forum. You can watch another video, one of the several videos that we developed through this project. And I'm looking forward to our cooperation, and I'm looking forward to the next outdoor forum in place in Herzegovina, trying also exercising some offers that was developed through these projects. And I'm looking forward also for continuation in the development of not development only, but integration of Bosnia and Herzegovina into the 𝗕𝗏𝗏 network. That is very important for us, and we will continue our communication with the European Cyclist Federation. And Ed, thank you very much for being here. Thank you, Thomas. We will continue our cooperation soon. Nedo, Iva, Jack, we will be in touch these days. Thank you very much, and thanks all, and hvala svim sudionicima koji su nas strpljivo gledali i nadamo se da su nešto i novoga saznali i da smo ih barem dijelom provocirali, motivirali da nas posjete cijelu regiju. Hvala lijepa i uživajte u još jednom filmu. Zamolit ću tehniku da nam pusti. Hvala lijepa. See you in Herzegovina next year.
Stay healthy. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.
Hvala svima.